The morning sun cast long shadows across Pemberton Academy's manicured lawn as I parked my 10-year-old Subaru between a Maserati and a Bentley. Through the windshield, I could see the PTA's welcome tent, strategically placed to screen arrivals at the fall fundraising gala prep meeting. "This area is for successful parents only," Victoria Ashford Hayes's voice carried across the parking lot before I even reached the tent. The PTA president stood guard like a designer-clad sentinel, her Hermes bag swinging as she directed traffic with the efficiency of someone who'd married into wealth and wielded it like a weapon. "Excuse me?" I paused at the entrance to the tent, where a velvet rope separated the VIP parent lounge from the general seating area. Victoria's eyes swept over my simple cardigan and khakis, her nose wrinkling slightly. "Oh, Mrs. Stone, isn't it? Oliver's mother? The regular parent area is over there." She gestured toward a cluster of folding chairs by the maintenance shed. "The VIP section is reserved for our premium donors, Platinum Circle and above." "I see," I said mildly. "And the qualifications for Platinum Circle?" "Annual contributions of $100,000 or more," she recited, clearly enjoying this, "plus active participation in our fundraising initiatives. It's really for established families who understand Pemberton's standards." Behind her, I recognized several faces from Oliver's class. Madison Wellington, whose husband ran a hedge fund, Brittany Chin Morrison, pharmaceutical heiress, Jennifer Blackwell, married to a senator. They sipped champagne at 10 in the morning while discussing their vacation homes. "Mom," Oliver jogged over from the soccer field, his practice uniform grass-stained and authentic in a way that made him stand out among his professionally styled peers. "You made it." "Of course, sweetheart." I ruffled his hair, ignoring Victoria's disapproving look at my public display of affection. Mrs. Stone was just finding her way to the general seating, Victoria informed him with a smile that suggested I was something to be scraped off her Louboutin. Oliver frowned. "But why?" "Mom's going to sit wherever I'm assigned," I interrupted gently. "Go finish practice. I'll see you after." He shot me a confused look but jogged back to his team. I'd worked hard to keep him grounded, to ensure he didn't know the full extent of our resources. The last thing I wanted was a child who thought his worth came from his trust fund. "Smart boy," Victoria commented, "though I do worry about his social development. He seems to gravitate toward the scholarship students, children choosing friends based on character rather than bank accounts." I said. "How concerning." The sarcasm flew over her professionally styled head. "Exactly. I'm glad you understand. Perhaps we could discuss getting him more involved with the right crowd. The Wellington boys are having their birthday at the country club next month. I could perhaps arrange an invitation." "Despite," she gestured vaguely at my entire existence. "Despite what?" "Well, you know," she leaned in conspiratorially, "your circumstances, single mother, that tiny house in Brookline, driving that vehicle. We all understand that divorce can be difficult financially." I almost laughed. My tiny house in Brookline was a deliberate choice, a modest colonial that fit our needs without screaming wealth. The divorce she mentioned had left me with more money than I could spend in 10 lifetimes, thanks to prenups and my own business ventures, but I'd learned that true wealth whispered, and mine was practically mute. "I manage," I said simply. "I'm sure you do." Her condescension dripped like honey. "Now, if you'll excuse me, I need to greet the actual donors. The meeting will start soon. There's coffee in the general area, the industrial kind, I'm afraid, but it's free." I made my way to the folding chairs, where several other unsuccessful parents nodded in solidarity. A father I recognized from Oliver's robotics club offered me his seat. "First time being Victoria'd?" he asked with a wry smile. "Is that what they call it? Being sorted into the unworthy pile?" "Yeah, she did the same thing to me last year when I showed up in my plumber's uniform. Apparently, honest work doesn't qualify for the VIP treatment." "Shocking," I said, accepting his offered seat. "I'm Emma, by the way. Marcus, my daughter Zoe is in Oliver's class. She talks about him all the time, says he's the only kid who doesn't care that we live in an apartment. Oliver's good that way." I watched my son on the field, passing the ball to a scholarship student while the coach yelled about teamwork. The meeting began with Victoria taking the stage, her PowerPoint presentation gleaming with corporate polish. "Welcome, Pemberton families. As you know, our fall gala is our premier fundraising event. Last year, we raised $2.3 million. Polite applause from the VIP section. Golf claps really. This year, she continued, we're aiming even higher. $3 million to fund critical improvements to our already exceptional facilities." "What improvements?" called out a voice from the general seating. Victoria's smile tightened. "Various enhancements to maintain our competitive edge." Now, For our premium donors, she launched into a detailed breakdown of benefits, VIP table placement, recognition in the program, exclusive principal's dinner. The general parents would get their names in small print. Maybe. The principal rushed over. Mrs. Stone, the new science wing you funded is ready for your inspection. Principal Davidson burst through the tent flaps like a man on a mission, slightly out of breath. His usually composed demeanor cracked with excitement. The entire assembly turned to stare. Victoria's presentation clicked to a halt. Principal Davidson, we're in the middle of. I apologize for the interruption, he said, not sounding sorry at all, but I've just received confirmation from the contractors. Mrs. Stone, the Emma Stone Science and Innovation Center is complete. Your $15 million gift has transformed our capabilities. Would you like to tour it before the ribbon cutting? The silence that followed was absolute. You could have heard a Cartier watch tick. 15 million? Victoria's voice cracked. Oh yes, Principal Davidson beamed, apparently oblivious to the social nuclear bomb he'd just detonated. Mrs. Stone is Pemberton's largest benefactor, hasn't she told you? In addition to the science wing, she funded the entire scholarship program, the arts center renovation, and the new athletic complex. Nearly $30 million in total over the past 3 years. I stayed seated on my folding chair, watching the blood drain from Victoria's face. I prefer anonymous donations, I said quietly, but the contractors needed a name for the building permits. Anonymous? Madison Wellington had found her voice. But you drive a Subaru. It has excellent safety ratings. You live in that small house, Brittany added, as if this were a personal betrayal. It's cozy. You shop at Target, Jennifer accused. They have great sales. Victoria's mouth opened and closed like a fish at feeding time. But I told you the VIP section was for successful parents only. You did. I agreed. Your definition of success seems rather narrow, though. Marcus, the plumber from the general seating, started laughing, genuinely laughing. You let her sort you into the cheap seats when you could buy the whole damn school? Money doesn't make someone worthy of respect, I said, loud enough for everyone to hear. Every parent here is successful if they're raising kind, thoughtful children. VIP sections based on bank accounts? That's exactly the wrong lesson to teach our kids. Mrs. Stone, Principal Davidson continued, still blissfully unaware of the social carnage. About the dedication ceremony, the mayor will be attending, along with several university presidents interested in our new STEM partnerships. Will 3 o'clock work? That's fine, I said, though I'd like to keep it low-key. Low-key? He laughed. It's the largest private donation to a K-12 institution in the state. The press will be. Principal Davidson, I interrupted gently, perhaps we could discuss this privately? Mrs. Ashford Hayes was in the middle of her presentation. He blinked, finally noticing the frozen tableau of shocked parents. Oh, yes, of course, my apologies, carry on. Victoria, he retreated, but the damage was done. Victoria stood at her podium, presenter remote trembling in her manicured hand, facing a completely transformed audience. The general seating parents were whispering excitedly. The VIP section looked like they'd been collectively slapped. That is, Victoria struggled to restart. The fall gala will raise $3 million, I said helpfully, a worthy goal. I'll match whatever you raise. More gasps. Someone in the VIP section actually dropped their champagne. You'll match? Victoria's voice was strangled. Of course, education matters, though I do have one condition. Anything? The word burst out before she could stop it. No more VIP sections. No more premium donor lounges. No more separating parents based on their perceived success. I stood, addressing the room. Every parent here loves their child. Every parent here contributes what they can. Some write checks. Some volunteer hours. Some raise kids who make other kids feel welcome regardless of their circumstances. All of it matters. But the big donors expect recognition. They'll get it. In the annual report, on the donor wall, at the appropriate ceremonies, but not through velvet ropes and segregated seating that teaches our children that human worth is measured in dollars. Oliver had finished practice and was jogging over, sweaty and happy. Mom, Coach says I made varsity. That's wonderful, sweetheart. I hugged him, not caring about the grass stains transferring to my cardigan. Mrs. Stone, Victoria tried again, her entire worldview reshaping in real time. I had no idea. If I'd known, that's exactly the point. I said, you shouldn't need to know someone's net worth to treat them with respect. The plumber whose daughter is best friends with my son? The single dad who works 3 jobs to afford tuition? The grandmother raising her grandkids on Social Security? They all deserve the same courtesy you'd show to someone with a platinum card. Can we see the science building now? Oliver asked, bouncing with excitement. Zoe says it has a real electron microscope. It has 12. Actually, Principal Davidson said, returning with pamphlets, and a clean room, and a robotics lab. And, can Zoe come? Oliver interrupted. And Marcus? And Tommy? And, anyone who wants to see it can come, I said, looking directly at Victoria. No VIP tours. Science is for everyone. The general seating parents immediately stood, eager to see the building they'd been hearing about. The VIP section remained frozen, processing this reversal of their careful hierarchy. I suppose, Victoria said weakly, we should all go see this generous gift. It's not my gift, I corrected. It's the community's gift. I just wrote the check. As we walked toward the gleaming new building, Marcus fell into step beside me. That was beautiful, he said quietly, watching her face when she realized she'd been gatekeeping someone who could buy and sell her husband's hedge fund. It's not about that, I said. It's about Oliver and Zoe and all the other kids watching us. What do we want them to learn? That worth comes from bank accounts or from character? Still, he grinned. It was satisfying. I allowed myself a small smile, maybe a little. The Science Center was everything I'd hoped, state-of-the-art but welcoming, with collaborative spaces and quiet corners, designed for discovery rather than showing off. Oliver and his friends immediately scattered to explore, their excitement genuine and infectious. Mrs. Stone, Victoria approached tentatively, her entire demeanor changed. I owe you an apology. You owe everyone in general seating an apology, I corrected. I'm just the only one who could afford to make the point dramatically. She flushed. You're right. I've been horrible, haven't I? Sorting people like their credit scores instead of parents. The question is what you'll do differently now. She straightened, some of her composure returning. Restructure the entire PTA system. No more tiers. No more VIP anything. Just parents supporting their kids' education however they can. That's a start. And I'll step down as president. She added quietly. Someone else should lead. Someone who understands that community matters more than committees. I studied her face, seeing genuine remorse. Or you could stay and do better. Use your organizational skills for inclusion instead of exclusion. Your choice. She nodded slowly. I'll think about it. Oliver ran over, dragging Zoe and 3 other kids. Mom, there's a telescope that can see Saturn's rings. Can we stay after school to use it? If it's okay with your parents, I said, looking at the other adults who'd gathered, plumbers and CEOs, single parents and traditional families, all watching their children's joy with the same love. Mrs. Stone, Principal Davidson appeared again. The mayor's office called. They want to do a press conference about the donation. Talk about public-private partnerships in education. No press conferences, I said firmly. The building speaks for itself. Let it be about the students, not the donor. But, Principal Davidson, how many of our students are on scholarship? 40%, he said proudly. Thanks to your funding. Good. Then let's make sure those 40% never feel like they're worth less than the full tuition students. No velvet ropes, no VIP sections, no general seating by the maintenance shed, just kids learning together. He nodded, understanding. Of course, that's why you've always insisted on anonymity, isn't it? So Oliver wouldn't be treated differently? So no child would be treated differently based on their parents' circumstances. I corrected. Oliver knows we're comfortable. He doesn't need to know the specifics. What he needs to know is that kindness matters more than cash. Mom, Oliver called out, can we have my birthday party here? In the planetarium? Everyone could come. Everyone? I asked. Yeah, the whole class. And their families. It would be so cool. I looked at Victoria, whose face had gone through another transformation. The old Victoria would have pointed out that everyone included scholarship kids, apartment dwellers, single parents working multiple jobs. The new Victoria just nodded. That sounds wonderful, she said. The PTA could help organize it. Make it a real community event. With no VIP section? I asked. Testing. With no VIP section, she confirmed. Just families celebrating together. As the tour wound down and parents began collecting their children, I noticed something different. The invisible barriers had started dissolving. A hedge fund manager was exchanging numbers with an electrician, planning a playdate. A senator's wife was getting coffee shop recommendations from a single mom. Small changes, but changes nonetheless. Mrs. Stone? Zoe appeared at my elbow, shy but determined. Thank you for the science lab. Dad says I can use the equipment for my invention. What are you inventing? Her eyes lit up. A water purification system for developing countries. Oliver's helping with the electronics. That sounds amazing. Let me know if you need anything. She beamed and ran back to Oliver, who was explaining something complex to a growing crowd of kids. No velvet ropes there, just children sharing knowledge regardless of their parents' bank accounts. Victoria approached one last time as we prepared to leave. The fall gala, would you be willing to co-chair? Help us restructure it to be truly inclusive? Ask Marcus, I suggested. The plumber you relegated to general seating. He has a degree in event management. Did you know that? Ran corporate conferences before he started his own plumbing business. But you never asked. She winced. I have a lot of apologizing to do. Then start now. He's right over there. As I walked Oliver to our sensible Subaru, past the luxury cars that suddenly seemed more burden than blessing, he slipped his hand into mine. Mom, why didn't you tell Mrs. Ashford Hayes about the donations? She was being really mean. Because proving someone wrong isn't the same as teaching them to be right, I said. She needed to learn that every parent has value. If she'd known about the money from the start, she would have just added me to her VIP list without changing her thinking. But she made you sit in the bad chairs. They weren't bad chairs. They were just chairs with good people in them. I squeezed his hand. Besides, what matters more, where you sit or who you stand up for? He thought about it as we drove home. Who you stand up for? Exactly. And today you stood up for your friends by inviting everyone to your party. That matters more than any donation I could make. Mom? Yeah? I love our small house. I smiled. Me too, kiddo. Me too. Behind us, the Emma Stone Science and Innovation Center gleamed in the afternoon sun, full of children who would learn that discovery didn't care about your parents' net worth. And somewhere in that building, Victoria Ashford Hayes was learning the same lesson. That success wasn't measured in dollars but in the community you built and the kindness you showed. It was a $15 million lesson. Worth every penny.
The bass thrums through the soles of my feet as I stand at the edge of the rooftop bar, 30 stories above Manhattan. Everyone around me sparkles, literally sparkles, in sequins and metallic dresses that catch the light like scattered stars. I'm wearing the black dress Nicole picked out for me, because of course I am. She's always known what's best for me, hasn't she? Mia. Nicole's voice carries across the crowd, musical and commanding as always. She's waving a champagne bottle, her smile brilliant enough to rival the city lights behind her. Birthday girl, get over here. I weave through the crowd, accepting hugs and birthday wishes from faces I mostly recognize from Nicole's Instagram stories. The party is exactly what she promised. Exclusive, expensive, and engineered for maximum social media impact. Just like everything else in Nicole's orbit. You look absolutely gorgeous, she gushes, pulling me into a perfumed embrace. I knew that dress would be perfect on you. Didn't I tell you? You always know, I say, and mean it. For 10 years, Nicole has been my compass, my confidant, my sister in everything but blood. The person who took awkward, uncertain Mia and helped transform her into someone who could almost belong in places like this. Edison appears at my elbow, offering a knowing smile and a fresh glass of champagne. Happy birthday, he says quietly, his steady presence a counterweight to Nicole's sparkle. Holding up okay? Before I can answer, Nicole sweeps me away for photos. The lighting is perfect right now, she insists, positioning me against the cityscape. I smile on command, letting her adjust my pose like a photographer with their favorite prop. The night blurs into a carousel of toasts and laughter and carefully curated moments. I'm floating on champagne bubbles when I excuse myself to the bathroom, weaving through the crowd toward the interior of the venue. That's when I hear it. Can't believe she's 30. Nicole's voice, slightly slurred but still carrying that familiar musical lilt. God, remember when we met her? So desperate to belong somewhere? I freeze, one hand on the bathroom door. The voices are coming from around the corner, just out of sight. She's sweet, though. Another voice. Pearl, I think. You two are like sisters. Nicole's laugh is sharp enough to cut. Please, she'll never be more than my sidekick. I mean, look at her, still wearing the clothes I pick out, still following my lead. It's kind of sad, really, like having a permanent intern who never graduates. The words hit like ice water, shocking me sober. My chest constricts as a decade of memories suddenly shift, kaleidoscope-like, into new and horrible patterns. That's harsh, Pearl says, but she's laughing too. It's true, though. I love her, but come on. Some people are meant to be supporting characters. At least she's good at it. I back away from the bathroom, my heels suddenly unsteady beneath me. The party lights seem too bright now, harsh and exposing. Every smile directed my way feels like pity. Every laugh sounds like mockery. My phone buzzes, a text from Edison. You okay? You look pale. I scan the crowd and find him watching me with concern. Beyond him, Nicole has returned to holding court, champagne in hand, radiant as ever. She catches my eye and waves, blowing an exaggerated kiss. My stomach lurches. 10 years of friendship telescope down to this moment, this revelation. Every time she's helped me with my career, every introduction she's made, every piece of advice she's given. Was it all just to keep me safely in her shadow? I grab my clutch and head for the elevator, ignoring the calls of, "Birthday girl, where are you going?" My hands shake as I press the lobby button. In the mirrored walls, I see myself as Nicole sees me. The faithful sidekick, the eternal supporting character, carefully styled in a dress she chose. But there's something else in my reflection, too. Something hard and bright in my eyes that wasn't there before. Because what Nicole doesn't know, what she's forgotten in her champagne-soaked superiority, is that I'm the one person who knows where all her bodies are buried. 10 years of secrets, of covering for her, of being the reliable friend who helps clean up her messes. The elevator doors open to the lobby, and I step out feeling lighter than I have all night. Tomorrow, Nicole will wake up to find her carefully constructed world beginning to crumble. And I'll be watching from the shadows she so thoughtfully taught me to inhabit. Happy birthday to me. Morning light filters through my bedroom window, harsh and unforgiving. My phone shows 17 missed calls from Nicole, 38 text messages, and 1 voicemail that I delete without listening. The dress she chose lies crumpled on my floor like a shed skin. I drag myself to the kitchen, where Edison is already waiting with coffee. He stayed over on my couch last night after following me home from the party, worried about my state of mind. Now he watches me with those careful eyes of his, waiting for me to break or explode. "You should eat something," he says, sliding a bagel across the counter. "I should burn that dress," I reply, but I take a bite anyway. "Did you know? About how she really saw me?" Edison's hesitation is answer enough. "Mia, how long?" He sighs, running a hand through his disheveled hair. "I've seen glimpses. The way she takes credit for your ideas at work. How she always positions herself as your mentor rather than your equal. But last night was different. Cruel." My phone buzzes again, Nicole's face lighting up the screen. I silence it without looking. "You know what's funny?" I say, staring into my coffee. Yesterday morning, I was helping her damage control her latest crisis. Again. She called me at 5 a.m. panicking about some documents that could ruin everything if they got out. And I dropped everything to help because that's what sidekicks do, right? Edison straightens. "What documents?" I walk to my home office where my laptop sits beside a thick manila envelope. "These arrived last week. Someone's been collecting receipts on Nicole's creative accounting at work, plus some interesting emails about how she's been taking credit for other people's projects, including mine." Jesus, Mia. Edison picks up the envelope like it might explode. "This is serious. This could end her career." I know. That's why she was so desperate to get ahead of it. I laugh, but there's no humor in it. I spent 6 hours yesterday helping her craft responses, making calls, calling in favors, all while she was probably thinking about what a pathetic little helper I am. My phone buzzes again. This time it's Pearl. Probably calling to do damage control on Nicole's behalf. I let it go to voicemail. "What are you going to do?" Edison asks quietly. Before I can answer, there's a pounding at my door. "Mia, I know you're in there." Nicole's voice missing its usual musical quality. "Why aren't you answering your phone? We need to talk." Edison moves toward the door, but I grab his arm. "Don't," I whisper. "Please." The pounding continues. "This isn't funny, Mia. I need those documents back. You can't just disappear with them. Edison's eyes widen as understanding dawns. The documents she was worried about? They were the ones you already had? I nod slowly. She doesn't know that part. She thinks I took them after the party, after overhearing her. She has no idea I've known for days exactly what kind of friend she really is. Mia, please. Nicole's voice cracks. I know you're upset about last night, but I was drunk. I didn't mean any of it. You're my best friend. The words hit like a slap. Best friend. The same person who called me her permanent intern just hours ago. 10 years of friendship, and I never realized I was just another carefully managed asset in Nicole's portfolio. If you don't open this door, I swear to God. You'll what? I call back, surprising myself. Find someone else to clean up your messes? Another sidekick to keep in your shadow? Silence falls heavy on the other side of the door. When Nicole speaks again, her voice is low, dangerous. You don't want to do this, Mia. You have no idea what I know about you. But she's wrong. For the first time, I know exactly what I want to do. I pick up my phone and dial a number I found in the documents. It rings twice before a crisp voice answers. Annabelle May's office. Hi, I say, watching Edison's eyes grow wide as he recognizes the name of Nicole's biggest rival. My name is Mia Emerson. I have some information Ms. May might find interesting about creative accounting practices at her competitor's firm. Nicole must hear something in my tone because she starts pounding on the door again, harder now. But it doesn't matter. The die is cast. I'm listening, Annabelle says. I look at the envelope in my hands. 10 years of loyalty weighing against one night of truth. How soon can we meet? The lobby of Annabelle's office building feels like entering another world. All glass and steel and quiet power, nothing like the startup chaos where Nicole and I work. My heels click against marble as the security guard escorts me to a private elevator. Quite the evidence package you've brought us, Annabelle says by way of greeting. She's shorter than I expected, but her presence fills the corner office. Though I have to ask, why now? These documents are dated from months ago. I set my coffee down on her pristine desk. Let's just say I recently gained some clarity about certain relationships. Ah. Her smile is knowing. Nicole finally showed her true colors? My phone buzzes. Edison again. I silence it, but not before seeing his message. Dylan's looking for you, says it's urgent. The question is, Annabelle continues, what do you want out of this? Besides revenge? The word makes me flinch. I hadn't thought. Of course you have. She leans forward. Everyone who comes to me with dirt has thought about exactly what they want. So let's hear it. Before I can answer, my phone lights up with a call from Malia. I silence it too, but something must show on my face because Annabelle's expression shifts. Having second thoughts? No, I say quickly. Too quickly. There are people who might get caught in the crossfire. There always are. Annabelle stands, walking to her window. Did you know Nicole tried to poach my entire development team last year? Offered them all significant raises, equity packages, but she didn't count on loyalty. My stomach twists. What do you mean? They told me everything, showed me the offers. We used that information to secure our biggest contract to date. She turns back to me. Loyalty is currency, Mia. Nicole never understood that. She sees it as weakness. My phone buzzes again. Dylan. This time I read the message. Need to talk. It's about Nicole. And you. The question, Annabelle says, is whether you're ready to spend that currency. I think of Nicole pounding on my door this morning, of 10 years of carefully crafted manipulation, of being the eternal sidekick. I'm ready, I say. But when I leave Annabelle's office an hour later, Dylan is waiting in the lobby. His face is ashen, his usually perfect hair disheveled. Thank God, he says, grabbing my arm. We need to talk, now. He practically drags me to a nearby coffee shop, checking over his shoulder the whole way. Once we're seated in a corner booth, he pulls out his phone and shows me an email. Nicole sent this to the whole board this morning. after you wouldn't answer her calls. My blood runs cold as I read. The email details every mistake I've ever made at work, every project that didn't quite succeed, every moment of weakness or uncertainty, but twisted, distorted into a pattern of incompetence and manipulation. According to Nicole, I've been riding her coattails for years, taking credit for her work, using her name to advance myself. She's burning you before you can burn her, Dylan says quietly. And it's working. The board is already talking about an investigation. My hands shake as I push the phone away. How did she... I was so careful. Because she's been planning this for months. Dylan won't meet my eyes. She told me to keep records of your mistakes, your conversations, in case she ever needed insurance. The betrayal hits like a physical blow. Dylan, sweet, funny Dylan, who I've had drinks with, who I've confided in, who I thought was my friend too, has been Nicole's spy all along. I'm sorry, he whispers. I didn't know what she'd use it for. I thought it was just business. My phone buzzes again. Edison. Board meeting called for tomorrow morning. About you. The walls feel like they're closing in. In just a few hours, Nicole has turned my planned revenge into a fight for professional survival. And she's only getting started. There's more, Dylan says, looking miserable. She has recordings, conversations where we all said things we shouldn't have. About clients, about the company. I think of all the late nights, all the venting sessions, all the moments I thought I was among friends. Nicole wasn't just collecting ammunition against me. She was building an arsenal. My phone lights up with a text from Annabelle. Deal's still on if you want it, but we move now. I look at Dylan, at his guilty face and nervous hands, at the evidence of how completely Nicole had orchestrated my potential downfall, long before I ever thought about orchestrating hers. I have to go, I tell him, standing up. Because now I know, this isn't just about revenge anymore. It's about survival. The boardroom feels like a courtroom, all polished wood and accusatory stares. I sit alone at one end of the long table while Nicole holds court at the other, perfectly composed in a cream blazer that probably costs more than my rent. These allegations are disturbing, says Marcus, the CEO. Mia, do you have anything to say in your defense? Defense? Like I'm on trial? Which I suppose I am. I think, I say carefully, that timing is interesting here. These concerns only surfaced after I began looking into certain accounting irregularities. Nicole's smile doesn't waver, but her knuckles whiten around her water glass. I think we should focus on the documented issues at hand, she says smoothly. The pattern of behavior, like the pattern of redirecting project credits? I interrupt, pulling out my own folder. I have documentation too, including emails where you specifically instructed team members to remove my name from presentations. A ripple of murmurs around the table. Nicole's smile turns brittle. I think, says Marcus, we should take a brief recess. In the hallway, Edison appears like a ghost. Pearl wants to talk to you, he whispers. Says it's important. She's in the break room. I find Pearl pacing between the coffee machines, looking like she hasn't slept. When she sees me, her eyes fill with tears. I'm so sorry, she says. I should have told you sooner, about everything. What do you mean, everything? She pulls out her phone, hands shaking. Nicole, she doesn't just have recordings of you. She has them of all of us. Everything we've ever said about the company, about clients, about each other. She's been collecting them for years. My stomach drops. Why are you telling me this now? Because she played me one last night. A conversation from 2 years ago where Pearl swallows hard. Where I admitted to fudging some numbers on the Martinez account. She said if I don't back up her story about you, she'll release it. The pieces click into place. She's blackmailing everyone. Pearl nods miserably. Dylan, Malia, me. We all have something to lose. Something she carefully collected and saved just in case. My phone buzzes. Annabelle. Board meeting's not going well. Time to play our hand? But before I can respond, another message appears. From Nicole. Break room. Now. Alone. I tell Pearl to go. When Nicole arrives minutes later, she's still wearing that perfect smile. You know, she says, I really did love you like a sister. Still do, actually. Funny way of showing it. Oh, please. She rolls her eyes. You think I became successful by being nice? By trusting people? I kept you close because you were useful. Loyal. The perfect sidekick. Until I wasn't. Until you forgot your place. She steps closer. But I'm willing to be generous. Walk away now. Resign quietly. I'll make sure you get a good recommendation. Help you find something new. We can even stay friends. I laugh, the sound harsh in the quiet room. Friends? After everything you've done? I've done? Her smile finally cracks. Who's meeting with my biggest rival? Who's threatening to expose confidential documents? You're not as clean in this as you pretend, Mia. She's right, and we both know it. In trying to escape her shadow, I've started becoming more like her than I ever wanted to admit. Here's what's going to happen. Nicole continues. You're going to go back into that boardroom and admit to everything. Take full responsibility. I'll smooth things over, help minimize the damage. It's the best offer you're going to get. My phone buzzes again. Annabelle. Decision time. I look at Nicole. Really look at her. Behind the perfect exterior, I see something I never noticed before. Fear. She's terrified. Not just of losing control, but of being exposed. Of someone seeing behind the carefully constructed facade. You're right about one thing, I say. I'm not clean in this. But at least I'm not afraid of people seeing who I really am. Her eyes narrow. What's that supposed to mean? Instead of answering, I text Annabelle back. Do it. Nicole's phone chimes immediately. Then everyone else is in the building. Mass email. The color drains from Nicole's face as she reads. Because Annabelle didn't just expose the creative accounting. She exposed everything. Every manipulated project credit. Every blackmail recording. Every carefully orchestrated betrayal. You'll go down with me, Nicole whispers, but there's uncertainty in her voice now. Maybe, I say, heading for the door. But at least I'll go down as myself, not someone's sidekick. I leave her there, staring at her phone as her perfect world crumbles one email at a time. The aftermath feels like a bomb has gone off. Security escorts Nicole from the building while HR sends everyone else home, pending investigation. I sit in my empty office, watching people hurry past with boxes of personal items, avoiding eye contact. Edison appears in my doorway. Malia's crying in the bathroom, he says quietly. Her recording was personal. Things she said about her marriage. Nicole promised she deleted it. The victory I felt an hour ago curdles in my stomach. I didn't know which recordings Annabelle had. I just told her to release everything. I know. He sits across from me. But that's the thing about scorched earth tactics. Everything burns. My phone lights up with messages, mostly from unknown numbers. Former colleagues calling me brave, calling me a traitor, asking why I didn't warn them, telling me I'm just as bad as Nicole. They're not wrong. The board wants to see you, Edison says. And Mia? Dylan's in there too. The walk to the boardroom feels longer than before. Dylan sits hunched in his chair, looking shell-shocked. Marcus stands at the window, his back to us both. Well, he says finally, turning around. This is quite a mess you've created. Sir, He holds up a hand. The good news is, the creative accounting evidence is solid. Nicole's actions were illegal, and the company will be pressing charges. I let out a breath I didn't know I was holding. The bad news, he continues, is that the collateral damage is extensive. Private conversations exposed. Client relationships compromised. Employee trust shattered. Dylan makes a small, broken sound. And you too. Marcus fixes us with a hard stare. We're at the center of it all. Dylan feeding information to Nicole. Mia feeding information to Annabelle. Both of you choosing nuclear options instead of coming to me directly. We didn't think. Dylan starts. No, you didn't. Marcus sighs. The board has decided that termination is the only option, for both of you. The words hit like physical blows. I knew there would be consequences, but somehow I thought exposing Nicole would protect me, make me the whistleblower instead of the villain. You have an hour to clear out your desks, Marcus says. Security will escort you out. In the elevator, Dylan finally speaks. I loved her, you know, Nicole. That's why I did it. Why I helped her collect all those recordings. I know, I say, because I do. Nicole had a way of making you feel special, chosen, until you weren't. But you know what's really messed up? He laughs bitterly. I think I helped destroy you because I was jealous. You were her real best friend. I was just convenient. The elevator doors open to reveal Pearl waiting in the lobby. When she sees me, her face crumples. How could you? She demands. That recording. My marriage was falling apart. I was drunk and scared and trusted Nicole to delete it. Now everyone knows. My husband knows. Pearl, I'm sorry. No, you're not. Her voice breaks. You're just like her, using people's trust as ammunition. At least Nicole was honest about being a snake. She turns and walks away, heels clicking against marble. Behind me, Dylan silently heads toward his desk. My phone buzzes. Annabelle. Messy, but effective. Let's talk about your future. Dinner tonight? I think about accepting. About turning this nuclear wasteland into a career opportunity. Isn't that what Nicole would do? Instead, I text Edison. Need a drink? Or 10? I find him waiting outside, hands in his pockets. You okay? I destroyed everything, I say. My career, my friendships, people's marriages. All because I couldn't stand being someone's sidekick anymore. No, he says firmly. You exposed real wrongdoing. The method was messy, but I became exactly what I hated. I laugh, the sound edged with hysteria. Nicole collected people's secrets to use as weapons. And what did I do? Use those same weapons. I didn't beat her, Edison. I replaced her. My phone buzzes again. An unknown number, but I recognize the email address in the preview. It's from one of Nicole's other victims, someone from years ago, someone whose career she destroyed, someone who's been waiting for this moment. The message is simple. Ready to finish what you started? Edison reads over my shoulder. Mia, don't. You've done enough. But have I? Nicole's facing charges for the financial fraud, but what about everything else? All the other lives she's ruined? Don't they deserve justice, too? I look at Edison's worried face, then back at my phone. At the chance to either stop this spiral or dive deeper into it. I need to make this right, I say. Which version of right? He asks quietly. Nicole's? Or yours? I wish I knew the answer. The cafe is empty except for me and Nicole's first victim. Rachel looks exactly like her LinkedIn photo from 6 years ago. Sharp features, sharper eyes, the kind of person who doesn't forget. I've been watching you, she says, stirring her untouched coffee. Watching her too, waiting for someone to finally crack her perfect facade. And now that someone has? Now we finish it. Rachel slides a USB drive across the table. This is everything I collected before she destroyed my career. Bank transfers, altered contracts, private emails, things even Annabelle doesn't know about. My hand hovers over the drive. Why didn't you use this yourself? I tried, but Nicole was too powerful, too connected. Nobody would touch it. Rachel's smile is cold. But now, with her reputation in tatters and criminal charges pending, perfect timing. My phone buzzes. Edison. Where are you? We need to talk. I ignore it. What exactly are you proposing? Release everything, not just the professional dirt, the personal stuff too. Her family's dirty money, her brother's rehab stays, everything she's tried to bury. The cafe door chimes. I look up to see Malia entering, eyes red but determined. "Sorry I'm late," she says, sitting down. "Had to lose the reporters camping outside my house." Rachel's smile widens. "Excellent. I was just showing Mia what we've collected." "We?" I look between them. "Did you think you were the only one Nicole betrayed?" Malia's voice is hard. "Rachel found me last night, showed me everything. This goes so much deeper than office politics, Mia." My phone buzzes again. "Edison. Nicole's been arrested. Things are getting worse." "The question," Rachel says, "is whether you're ready to go all the way. No more half measures." The USB drive sits between us like a loaded gun. I think about Pearl's marriage, Dylan's broken trust, my own scorched career. "This would destroy her completely," I say. "Yes." Rachel doesn't blink. "That's the point." The cafe door chimes again. This time it's Edison, looking frantic. "Mia, thank God. You need to see this." He holds up his phone. A news article about Nicole's arrest. But it's not just about the creative accounting anymore. Somehow the story has shifted. Now it's about a conspiracy. About how I orchestrated everything, manipulated evidence, collaborated with corporate rivals. "She's spinning it," Edison says, "making herself the victim, and people are believing her." Rachel laughs. "Of course they are. It's what she does best. Why do you think I lost everything 6 years ago?" My phone explodes with notifications. Social media is catching fire with Nicole's version of events. Former colleagues are posting about how I manipulated them, betrayed their trust. The narrative is slipping away from me. "Now do you understand?" Malia asks quietly. "Why we need to use everything?" Edison reads the room. "Mia, don't. This isn't justice anymore. It's annihilation." "Sometimes they're the same thing," Rachel says. I stare at the USB drive, remembering Nicole's words in the break room. "You think I became successful by being nice?" No. She became successful by being ruthless. By understanding that sometimes you have to destroy someone completely to ensure they never rise again. Just like I'm considering doing now. "If we do this," I say slowly, "we're no better than her." "Maybe not," Malia replies. "But at least we'll win." My phone buzzes one final time. A text from Nicole, sent from wherever they're holding her. "You should have taken the deal. Now everyone will see who you really are." I pick up the USB drive, feeling its weight. Inside is enough ammunition to not just destroy Nicole's career, but her entire life. Her family, her future, everything. Just like she would do to me, is already trying to do to me. "Mia," Edison says softly. "Please." Rachel and Malia watch me expectantly. 2 more women shaped by Nicole's betrayal, waiting to see if I'll become what we all hated. I stand up. "No," I say. "No?" Rachel's eyes narrow. "After everything she's done? I won't help you destroy her life." I set the USB drive down. "But I will help you tell the truth. The real truth, with real evidence. No personal attacks, no collateral damage, just facts." "That's not enough," Malia protests. "It has to be." I look at Edison, see the relief in his eyes. "Because if we do it her way, we prove her right. About all of us." I walk out before they can argue, Edison following close behind. Outside, the sun is setting over the city, painting everything in shades of gold and shadow. "You know they'll release it anyway," he says. I know. I watch a news van drive past, hunting for the next sensational headline. But I won't be part of it. I'm done playing by Nicole's rules. So what's our next move? I smile, feeling lighter than I have in days. We're going to tell my story. All of it. Before she can twist it any further. Because sometimes the best revenge isn't destruction. It's truth. The police station's interview room smells like stale coffee and anxiety. Nicole sits across from me, still somehow immaculate despite spending the night in custody. Only her eyes reveal the cracks in her armor. They're fever bright, desperate. Come to gloat? she asks. No. I set my phone on the table between us, recording app open. I came to give you a choice. Her lawyer shifts uncomfortably beside her but doesn't speak. We both know this isn't a legal conversation. Rachel and Malia want to release everything. I continue. Not just the work stuff. Everything. Something flickers across Nicole's face. The first real fear I've seen from her. You wouldn't. I wouldn't. But they would. I lean forward. Unless you tell the truth. All of it. Starting with what really happened 6 years ago with Rachel. Nicole laughs, but it's brittle. And why would I do that? Because deep down, you're tired, aren't you? Tired of maintaining the perfect facade. Tired of keeping track of all the lies and manipulations. Tired of seeing enemies in every shadow. You don't know anything about me. I know everything about you. 10 years of everything. I tap my phone. So here's the choice. Tell your story, the real story, or let Rachel tell it for you. The lawyer whispers something in her ear. She ignores him. You really want to know the truth? Nicole's voice drops to a whisper. I was terrified. All the time. Of being exposed as a fraud. Of people seeing through me, so I collected their secrets before they could collect mine. Kept everyone off balance so they couldn't see how scared I was. The confession hangs in the air between us. Outside, I hear footsteps in the hallway, voices murmuring. Rachel was the first one who saw through me. Nicole continues. She was going to expose everything. So I destroyed her first. And it worked so well, I just kept going. It was easier than being vulnerable. And me? You. Her smile turned sad. You were the worst threat of all, because you saw the real me and loved me anyway, like a sister, until you didn't. The door opens. Edison steps in, right on schedule. It's done, he says quietly. Nicole's eyes dart between us. What's done? I slide my phone across the table, open to a news website. The headline reads, Exclusive. Former executive tells all. A story of power, fear, and redemption. Your confession just went live, I say. The real story. Not the twisted version you've been spinning or the nuclear option Rachel wanted. Just the truth. The color drains from her face as she reads. Every word from the last 5 minutes, transcribed and published. Her vulnerability, her fear, her humanity. You can't, she starts. I already did. I stand up. The world doesn't see you as a monster anymore, Nicole. Just a scared, broken person who hurt people because she was hurting. That's your punishment. Being seen. Really seen. You've ruined me, she whispers. No, I've freed you. And me. And everyone else you tried to control. I head for the door, then pause. Oh, and those personal files Rachel and Malia wanted to release? I destroyed them this morning. Some secrets deserve to stay buried. Edison follows me out. In the hallway, my phone is already exploding with notifications. The story is spreading, but not the way Nicole feared. People are sharing their own stories of workplace manipulation, of toxic friendships, of finding the courage to be vulnerable. You okay? Edison asks softly. No, I admit. But I will be. My phone buzzes with a text from Pearl. Just read the article. Can we talk? Then Malia. You were right. This was better. Even Rachel. Not what I wanted, but maybe what I needed. What now? Edison asks as we step into the sunlight. I think about Nicole, sitting alone in that interview room, finally seen for who she really is. About how freedom sometimes comes from letting go of revenge. Now? I smile. Now I stop being anyone's sidekick, including my own. He takes my hand, and for the first time, I let him. Because that's the thing about stepping out of someone's shadow. You finally get to choose your own light. My phone buzzes one last time. A message from Nicole. I'm sorry for everything, and thank you. I don't respond. Some stories don't need another chapter. Sometimes the best ending is simply walking away, head held high, into whatever comes next. Edison squeezes my hand. Ready? I look back at the police station one last time, then forward at the city sprawling before us. Ready. Because the best revenge isn't destruction or exposure or even truth. It's living well, on your own terms, in your own story. Finally, I'm ready to write mine. The morning sun streams through my apartment windows as I pack the last of my office things into boxes. My phone lights up with another job offer, the 5th this week. Ever since the article went viral, companies have been scrambling to show they take workplace toxicity seriously. I delete it without reading. Edison brings me coffee, watching as I pick up the black dress from my birthday party. Keep it or donate? Burn it, I say, then pause. No, actually, I have a better idea. An hour later, I'm standing outside a women's shelter, boxes of designer clothes in my arms. Everything Nicole ever chose for me. The shelter director, Maria, greets me with a knowing smile. Interview outfits, I explain, for women starting over. As we sort through the clothes, my phone buzzes. Pearl. Coffee? Found a new place? No memories there. I meet her at a tiny cafe in a neighborhood I've never visited. She looks different, lighter somehow, despite the shadows under her eyes. The divorce papers came through yesterday, she says without preamble. Turns out the recording wasn't what ended my marriage. It just made me finally face what I already knew. I'm sorry. Don't be. She stirs her coffee. I'm starting a support group for people recovering from toxic relationships, romantic, professional, whatever. Was wondering if you'd come speak. Before I can answer, my phone lights up with a news alert. Tech startup announces major leadership changes. Former executive Nicole Diaz pleads guilty, agrees to industry ban. Pearl reads it over my shoulder. Is it weird that I feel sorry for her? No, I say. I do too. But not sorry enough to let her back in. Speaking of letting people in, Pearl's eyes drift to something behind me. Isn't that Edison? He's outside the cafe window, pretending to be fascinated by a newspaper stand. I haven't seen him since that day at the police station, since that moment of almost something between us. Go, Pearl says softly. Some stories deserve a new chapter. I find him still studying headlines. Anything interesting? Just this story about a woman who chose truth over revenge. He looks up, smiling. Pretty compelling stuff. I heard she's still figuring out her next move. Any ideas? I think about Pearl's support group, about Maria's shelter, about all the messages I've received from people sharing similar stories. Actually, yes. I pull out my phone, show him the website I've been building. A platform for people to share their experiences, resources for recognizing manipulation, legal aid contacts, a place to find your voice when someone's tried to silence it. Not exactly the corporate comeback people are expecting. Good. I close the browser. I'm done meeting expectations, especially other people's. My phone buzzes. Malia wanting to grab lunch. Then Rachel asking about collaborating on a workplace ethics workshop. Even Dylan apologizing again, seeking redemption. Looks like you're in demand, Edison says. Looks like I'm exactly where I need to be. A final message comes through. From Nicole's brother, of all people. She's starting therapy, he writes. Real therapy this time. Says you showed her there's strength in being seen. I delete the message without responding. Some bridges stay burned, and that's okay. So, Edison says, taking my hand. What's next? I look at our reflection in the cafe window. No designer clothes, no carefully curated image, just me. Finally, completely me. First, coffee, I say. Then we build something real. Together? Together. I squeeze his hand. But not as sidekicks. We walk into the cafe where Pearl waits, where new possibilities simmer like fresh coffee, where the morning light turns everything golden. My phone stays quiet in my pocket. Not because there aren't messages coming in, but because I'm finally choosing which voices to hear. And for the first time since my birthday, since that rooftop revelation that shattered everything, I feel truly, completely free. Not because I destroyed my enemy, but because I refused to become her. Because I chose to write my own story, even when others tried to edit it. Pearl waves us over, already pulling out chairs. Edison's hand stays warm in mine. Outside, the city pulses with millions of stories waiting to be told. This one's mine. And I'm just getting started.
The last morning I spent with my husband, he made me coffee exactly the way I liked it, strong enough to paint with, just a whisper of cream. I remember watching his hands as he stirred, those familiar fingers wrapped around the spoon, thinking how lucky I was that this man knew me so completely. "You're staring again, Chloe," Colin said, sliding the mug across our marble kitchen island. His smile had that early morning softness I'd fallen in love with 12 years ago. Just appreciating the view, I wrapped my hands around the warm ceramic, breathing in the rich aroma. "Someone has to stroke your ego before you face the board meeting." He leaned across the counter and kissed me, tasting of toothpaste and promise. "I'd rather you stroke something else." Later, I laughed, pushing him away. Some of us have actual work to do. The autumn sunlight streamed through our kitchen windows, painting everything in honey gold. It was the kind of perfect October morning that made me believe in forever. Crisp air, leaves dancing outside, the comfortable rhythm of our shared routine. Colin adjusted his tie in the reflection of the microwave, and I pretended not to notice him checking his phone for the third time in 5 minutes. "Nervous about the presentation?" I asked, though I knew he'd nail it. He always did. "Just want everything perfect." He ran a hand through his dark hair, messing it up in exactly the way that made my heart skip. "Speaking of perfect, dinner tonight? That new place on Madison? The one with the month-long waiting list." I may have pulled some strings. His grin was infectious. 8 o'clock? It's a date. I stood up, smoothing my skirt. "Though I should warn you, Cameron's been talking my ear off about their wine list. I might get carried away." "Get as carried away as you want." He grabbed his briefcase, then paused. "Hey, I love you, you know that." Something in his voice made me look up. For a split second, there was something in his eyes. Something heavy, almost sad. But then he smiled, and it was gone so fast, I convinced myself I'd imagined it. "Love you too," I said, watching him head for the door. "Knock 'em dead." Those were the last words I said to my husband before the call came. Before everything I thought I knew about my life shattered like a wine glass hitting concrete. I was in the middle of a budget meeting when my phone lit up. Unknown number. I usually ignored those. But something, intuition, fate, whatever you want to call it, made me excuse myself to answer it. "Mrs. Walsh," a woman's voice, clinical and careful. "This is Mount Sinai Hospital." The world tilted sideways. Hospitals don't call with good news. "There's been an accident, your husband's car." The rest blurred into white noise. Words like impact and pronounced at the scene floated past me like debris in a flood. I remember sliding down the wall, my knees giving out. Remember my assistant Jonah finding me there, phone still pressed to my ear long after the call ended. I didn't cry, not then. Instead, I went numb, operating on autopilot, as I called our lawyer, contacted the funeral home, did all the terrible things you're supposed to do when your world ends. Cameron came over with food I couldn't eat and words I couldn't hear. My sister Bailey left 17 voicemails I couldn't bring myself to return. That night, I sat alone in our bedroom, still in my work clothes, staring at Colin's side of the closet. His suits hung in perfect order: navy, charcoal, black. The green tie he'd worn that morning was tossed over the hamper, like any other day, like he'd be back to put it away properly. I picked it up, the silk smooth against my fingers, pressed it to my face, searching for his scent, and there it was, his cologne, but also something else, something floral, feminine. My hands shook as I examined the tie more closely. There, near the bottom, the faintest smudge of pink lipstick. I never wore pink lipstick. The tie slipped from my fingers, As the first crack appeared in my carefully maintained shock, and finally, sitting there surrounded by the evidence of our shared life, I began to cry. Not delicate tears, but ugly, violent sobs that tore through me like shrapnel. I cried for the man I'd lost, for the life I thought we had. But mostly, I cried because some part of me, the part that noticed the phone checks, the late meetings, the subtle shifts in his behavior, had known something was wrong, and I'd chosen not to see it. I didn't know then that the lipstick was just the beginning. Didn't know that in less than 48 hours, I'd discover exactly how deep the betrayal went. But that would come later. That night, I just cried until there was nothing left inside me but hollow space and questions without answers. And somewhere in that emptiness, something else began to take root. Something cold and sharp and hungry for truth. Funerals have a way of making everything feel like a dream. Standing in the church vestibule, I watched people file past in a blur of black clothes and sympathetic murmurs. My dress felt too tight, my shoes too sharp. Everything was wrong, but in ways I couldn't quite name. "You're doing great," Cameron whispered, squeezing my hand. She hadn't left my side since arriving that morning, armed with coffee and emergency mascara. "Just breathe." I nodded, not trusting my voice. The lipstick-stained tie was buried in my dresser drawer, along with all the questions it raised. Today wasn't about questions. Today was about surviving. The church filled quickly. Colin had been well-liked, successful. Partners from his firm occupied the first few rows, their wives clutching tissues with manicured hands. Our neighbors, our friends, even his old college roommate who'd flown in from Seattle, all here to say goodbye to a man I was starting to realize I might never really knew. Still no sign of Bailey. My calls had gone straight to voicemail for 2 days straight. Even our mother, who'd been dead for 5 years, would have been appalled at her absence. "The service is about to start." Jonah appeared at my elbow, radiating quiet competence. "Do you want me to say something about the eulogy?" I shook my head. "I'll do it. I have to." The walk to the podium felt endless. My heels clicked against marble, each step echoing like gunshots in the hushed sanctuary. The sealed casket loomed to my left, draped in white roses. I forced myself not to look at it. Colin was, my voice cracked. I gripped the podium harder, knuckles white. Colin was the kind of man who made everything seem possible. The words tasted like ash in my mouth. Every carefully crafted sentence about his kindness, his generosity, his love, they all felt hollow now. But I pushed through, painting the picture everyone expected. The grieving widow, celebrating a perfect marriage cut tragically short. That's when I saw them. At first, I thought grief was making me hallucinate. They stood in the shadow of the back entrance. My sister Bailey, wearing a black dress I'd never seen before, and beside her, Colin. My Colin, alive, breathing, his arm around my sister's waist. The eulogy died in my throat. The paper slipped from my fingers, floating to the floor like a surrendering flag. Someone gasped, probably Cameron, who had followed my frozen stare to the back of the church. The congregation turned as one. The silence shattered into shocked whispers and muffled exclamations. Through it all, I stood paralyzed, watching my dead husband and my baby sister stare back at me with matching expressions of horror. "I can explain." Colin's voice carried across the sanctuary. He took a step forward, hands raised, like he was approaching a wild animal. Maybe he was. Something inside me snapped. A laugh bubbled up, high, hysterical, entirely inappropriate for a funeral. "Explain?" The word came out sharp enough to cut. "Explain what, exactly?" "How you're not actually dead. How you're standing here with my sister while I eulogize an empty casket." Bailey stepped forward then, her face tear-streaked. "Chloe, please, don't." The ice in my voice stopped her cold. "Don't you dare speak to me." The church had erupted into chaos. People standing, phones recording, voices rising in confusion and outrage. Through it all, I remained at the podium, watching my life implode with strange detachment. Jonah appeared at my side, solid as a mountain. Cars waiting at the side entrance, he murmured. Cameron's already there. I nodded once, straightening my spine. With deliberate calm, I gathered my fallen eulogy pages, smoothed my dress, turned to face the congregation. Thank you all for coming, I said, my voice carrying over the din. Unfortunately, it seems the funeral has been cancelled due to the unexpected resurrection of the deceased. Then I walked out, head high, ignoring Colin's calls and Bailey's sobs. Each step felt like walking through concrete, but I didn't break stride until I was in the car. Cameron's arms around me, Jonah directing the driver to go. I'll kill him, Cameron seethed. I'll actually kill him. No, I said, watching the church recede through the tinted windows. My hands had stopped shaking. The numbness was back, but different now. Not the fog of grief, but the clarity of purpose. Death would be too easy. I thought of the lipstick on the tie, the missed calls, the perfect coffee and careful goodbye, all the pieces clicking into place like a poison puzzle. Chloe? Jonah's voice was careful. What do you want to do? I turned from the window, meeting his concerned gaze. I want to destroy them, I said simply. Both of them. And I want them to feel every second of it. The car turned onto the highway, carrying me away from the funeral that wasn't. Behind us, my old life lay in ruins. Ahead, something new was taking shape. Something made of rage and betrayal, and the kind of cold fury that could reshape worlds. They thought they'd broken me. They were about to learn how wrong they were. 3 days after my husband crashed his own funeral, I sat in my home office, surrounded by papers that proved our entire marriage had been built on lies. Bank statements, property records, email printouts, each one a fresh betrayal laid bare in black and white. Look at this, Cameron said, pointing to a transaction record. Regular transfers to an account in the Caymans, starting 2 years ago, right around the time Bailey got her dream job at that consulting firm. My voice was steady, even as my fingers crumpled the paper's edge. Funny how my little sister suddenly became so successful. Cameron hesitated. There's something else. She slid another document across my desk. The beach house in Martha's Vineyard. It's not in Colin's name anymore. He transferred ownership to Bailey 3 months ago. The beach house, where we'd spent our honeymoon, where I'd told him I loved him for the first time. My throat burned with acid. They're probably there now, I said, standing abruptly. The thought of them together in our special place made me physically ill, hiding out while they figure out their next move. Chloe, Cameron's voice held a warning. Don't do anything rash. Rash? I laughed, the sound brittle. I'm done being rash. I'm done being the reactive one. I picked up my phone, dialing a familiar number. Jonah, remember that contingency plan we discussed? It's time. Within an hour, I was in my corporate office, signing documents that would freeze Colin out of every joint venture, every shared investment, every project he'd built his reputation on. My signature, flowing across page after page, felt like drawing blood. The board meeting's in 10 minutes, Jonah reported, collecting the papers. Are you sure about this? Once we announce the restructuring. I've never been more sure of anything. I stood, smoothing my dress. Colin thought he was so clever, keeping his affair hidden. He forgot one thing. This company was mine before I ever met him. And I've spent 12 years making sure I had contingencies for every possible scenario, including betrayal. Though I'd prayed I'd never need them. The boardroom fell silent as I entered. These men had known me for years, but always as Colin's wife first, CEO second. Today, they'd learn the difference. Gentlemen, I took my place at the head of the table. I'm afraid I have some disturbing news about attempts to defraud this company. By the time I finished presenting the evidence, carefully edited to protect the company while exposing Colin's financial manipulations, faces around the table had turned from skeptical to thunderous. The vote to remove him from all positions and freeze his assets was unanimous. I was signing the final resolution when my phone buzzed. Bailey's name lit up the screen. After 3 days of silence, now she wanted to talk. I excused myself to my office, heart pounding, answered on the last ring. Chloe, please. Her voice was raw, desperate. You have to let me explain. Explain what? How long you've been sleeping with my husband? How much of my money you took? It's not like that. She was crying now. You don't understand. Colin said he'd help me with my debts. Said he'd make sure I never had to struggle like we did growing up. He promised. He promised me forever. I cut in. Looks like neither of us should have believed him. Please, she was begging now. I know I messed up, but you're my sister. We're family. The word hit me like a slap. Family. My voice dropped to a whisper. Family doesn't do what you did. The sister I loved. She died the moment she walked into that church with my husband. What are you going to do? I thought of the beach house, of 12 years of memories tainted by lies, of the little girl who used to crawl into my bed during thunderstorms, seeking comfort from her big sister. I'm going to take everything, I said quietly. The house, the money, the reputation you built with my resources. And when I'm done, you'll both remember what it feels like to have nothing. Chloe, I hung up, hands shaking, pressed my forehead against the cool glass of my office window, watching the city sprawl below. Somewhere out there, my husband and sister were planning their next move, thinking they still held cards I didn't know about. My phone buzzed again. A text from Jonah. Found something interesting in Colin's old emails. Meeting mentioned between him and someone named Kayla from your support group, dated 6 months ago. I stared at the message, pieces clicking into place. Kayla, the quiet one who'd joined our grief support group last year, who'd listened so sympathetically to my stories about losing our mother, who'd asked so many questions about my life, my marriage, my company. Well, wasn't that interesting? I picked up my phone again. Time to arrange a coffee date with an old friend. Kayla was exactly where I expected to find her, at our support group's regular coffee shop, tucked into the corner table she always claimed. Her hands fidgeted with her cup sleeve as I approached, shredding the cardboard into tiny pieces. Chloe, her surprise seemed genuine. Almost. I saw the news. Are you okay? I slid into the seat across from her, studying her face. 6 months ago, I'd held this woman while she cried about her dead husband. Now I wondered if those tears had been as fake as mine would become. Actually, I said, keeping my voice gentle, I was hoping you could tell me about your meeting with Colin last spring. The coffee sleeve stopped moving. Her fingers went still. I don't know what you're talking about. No? I pulled out my phone, pulled up the email Jonah had found, because Colin's calendar shows a 2-hour lunch with you at Le Bernardin. Interesting choice for a grief support meeting. Color drained from her face. It's not, I can explain. Please do. I leaned back, crossing my legs. Explain how my husband hired you to infiltrate my support group. To what? Spy on me? Learn my weaknesses? He said he was worried about you. The words burst out of her. Said you were hiding things, that you weren't processing your mother's death properly. He just wanted to help. I laughed, the sound sharp enough to make nearby customers turn. Help? By having a stranger monitor my emotional state. By using my grief as a weapon. I didn't know about your sister, she whispered. I swear. When I saw the news, save it. I stood, smoothing my skirt. You should know, I've forwarded evidence of your involvement to the support group's ethics board. I expect they'll be quite interested in how you exploited vulnerable members for profit. Her face crumpled. Please don't. This job is all I have. Should have thought of that before you sold my trust for a paycheck. I left her crying into her coffee, my heels clicking against the floor like hammer strikes. Outside, Cameron was waiting in the car. Well? She asked as I slid in. Colin had her watching me for months, reporting back on everything I said in group. My hands clenched in my lap. He was gathering intelligence, building a profile of my vulnerabilities. That manipulative bastard. Cameron's knuckles went white on the steering wheel. What's our next move? Before I could answer, my phone rang. Unknown number. Mrs. Walsh, a man's voice, official sounding. This is Detective Morris, from the Fraud Division. we've received some concerning reports about your company's recent activities. My blood went cold. What kind of reports? Allegations of insider trading, market manipulation. Several board members have come forward with documentation. Of course, Colin's contingency plan, turn my own board against me, make me look unstable, vengeful, criminal. I see, I said carefully. And these board members, would they happen to include James Porter and Richard Klein? I'm not at liberty to. The same board members who were involved in Colin's offshore account scheme, the one I have documented evidence of. Silence on the line. Then, perhaps we should meet to discuss this in person. My lawyer will be in touch. I hung up, heart racing. Cameron, I need you to call Jonah. Tell him to implement Protocol B immediately. She nodded, already dialing. What about the beach house? The surveillance team reported movement there this morning. I closed my eyes, remembering Bailey's desperate call, the sister I'd practically raised, plotting against me in the house where I'd once felt safest. Leave it for now, I said finally. They'll expect me to go after the house first. Let them think they have a safe harbor while we dismantle everything else. My phone buzzed with a text. Jonah, board members backing down, found leverage. But there's something else. Bailey accessed her old company email. Message to Colin mentions insurance. Something about files from your mother's estate. The car suddenly felt too small. Our mother's estate, the source of my initial capital, the foundation of everything I'd built. What could Bailey have found? Take me home, I told Cameron. I need to check something. An hour later, I stood in my home office, staring at an empty safe hidden behind my mother's portrait. The contents, documents I'd thought long buried, were gone. My sister's voice echoed in my head. You don't understand. Maybe she was right. Maybe I didn't understand everything yet, but I would. I picked up my phone, dialing Jonah's number. Remember that offshore account we traced to the Caymans? I need everything you can find about transactions from 15 years ago, around the time my mother died. That far back, what are we looking for? I touched the empty safe, feeling the cold metal under my fingers. The truth about how our family really fell apart. The files from my mother's estate weren't the only things missing. As I moved through the house that night, I noticed other absences, small things at first. The antique locket my mother left me, the folder of childhood photos I kept in my desk, even my old diary from high school. Bailey hadn't just taken evidence, she'd taken memories. Found something, Jonah said, his voice tight through the speaker phone. 3 days before your mother's death, she transferred nearly $2 million to an account in Bailey's name. The next day, she changed her will. I gripped the edge of my desk. Changed it how? Originally, everything was split equally between you and Bailey. The new version left you controlling interest in the company. But, he paused, there was a condition. If certain documents ever became public, control would revert to Bailey. What documents? Still working on that. But Chloe, there's more. That money your mother transferred, it bounced back 2 weeks later from Colin's personal account. The room tilted sideways. Colin had known my sister since she was 16. Had he been playing this game even then? My phone buzzed, Cameron calling. Turn on channel 7, she said without preamble. Now, I fumbled for the remote. The news anchor's voice filled my office. Shocking allegations about Walsh Industries CEO, Chloe Walsh. Documents released today suggest a pattern of corporate espionage and financial manipulation dating back to her mother's death. Her sister, Bailey Walsh, released a statement. The screen cut to Bailey, looking perfectly poised in a designer suit. My suit, I realized with a jolt. One I'd bought her last Christmas. I never wanted this to become public, she said, eyes wide with practiced concern. But after seeing what Chloe's done, the people she's hurt, I can't stay silent. Our mother trusted her with everything, and look how she's abused that trust. The remote cracked in my hand. That manipulative little. There's more. Cameron cut in. She's called an emergency board meeting for tomorrow morning, 9 a.m. Of course she had. Strike while the scandal was fresh, while the board was scared. Classic Colin's strategy, which meant he was the one pulling the strings. My other line beeped, unknown number. Don't, Cameron warned, but I was already answering. Hello, darling. Colin's voice, smooth as poison. Caught the news. Enjoying your puppet show. He chuckled. Always so quick to anger. That's your problem, Chloe. You let emotion cloud your judgment, just like your mother did. Don't you dare talk about my mother. Why not? I knew her better than you think, better than you ever did. His tone shifted, became almost gentle. It's not too late to stop this. Sign over control of the company, and all those old secrets stay buried. Everyone wins. Everyone except me. You'll keep your reputation, your dignity. Isn't that worth something? I thought of Bailey wearing my clothes, sitting in my boardroom, trying to take my life piece by piece. Go to hell. Have it your way, he sighed. But before you make any moves tomorrow, you might want to check your private server, the one with all those contingency plans you're so proud of. Interesting reading. The line went dead. My hands shook as I pulled up my secure login. No, I whispered. No, no, no. The server was empty. Every file, every backup, every carefully constructed safeguard, gone. Chloe? Cameron's voice seemed far away. What is it? They have everything. My voice sounded strange to my own ears. Every plan, every strategy. They're not just trying to take the company, they're trying to erase me. The silence stretched. Then Cameron said quietly, maybe it's time to call Kayla. What? Why would I? Because she wasn't just spying for Colin. Think about it. She had access to your real emotions, your unguarded moments. If anyone knows what they're planning. I closed my eyes, remembered Kayla's shredded coffee sleeve, her desperate plea. This job is all I have. Make the call, I told Cameron. But first, I need you to drive me somewhere. An hour later, I stood in front of my childhood home, empty now, waiting for renovation. The key was still hidden under the loose brick by the garden, just like when we were kids. Inside, everything was sheets and shadows. But there, in the back of my mother's closet, behind the loose panel where she'd hidden birthday presents, a metal box I hadn't seen in 15 years. My hands trembled as I opened it. Inside, a letter, addressed to me in my mother's handwriting. And beneath it, a USB drive labeled simply, The Truth. Oh, Mom, I whispered. What were you trying to tell me? The truth about our family's fall was in my hands. But was I ready to learn it? The USB drive sat on my desk like a live grenade, while Kayla perched nervously in the visitor's chair. Her eyes kept darting between me and the door, like she couldn't decide which was more dangerous. Talk, I said. Everything you know about their plan. She twisted her hands in her lap. Colin. He said your mother's death wasn't what everyone thought. That there were documents proving you'd manipulated things to get control of the company. That's a lie. Is it? Her voice strengthened slightly, because he showed me bank records, phone logs, evidence that you were meeting with board members weeks before she died. My throat went dry. I was 20. Of course I was meeting with board members. Mom was grooming me to take over eventually. Eventually, Kayla echoed. But not that soon. Not unless something happened to her. The implication hit me like a physical blow. You think that I had something to do with? Colin said the truth would destroy you. That's why he needed someone close. Someone who could watch for signs you were cracking under the guilt. I laughed, the sound brittle. And Bailey, was she part of this twisted theory? Bailey found something in your mother's papers, something that made her believe. My phone buzzed. Jonah. The board meeting's starting. Bailey and Colin just arrived. I checked the time. 8:45. 15 minutes until they tried to take everything. Show me, I told Kayla. Show me exactly what Colin showed you. She pulled out her phone, fingers trembling as she pulled up emails. There they were, documents showing meetings, transfers, conversations I barely remembered from 15 years ago. All carefully arranged to paint a damning picture. The perfect daughter, Kayla said softly. who couldn't wait to inherit. I stared at the evidence against me, feeling sick. Then I saw it. A tiny detail in one of the bank statements. A routing number I recognized. "Call Cameron," I told Kayla. "Tell her to meet us at the office, now." The drive downtown was a blur. My mind raced, pieces falling into place. That routing number, I'd seen it before, in Colin's Cayman accounts. We reached the office building, with 5 minutes to spare. Cameron was waiting in the lobby, holding a manila envelope. "Got what you asked for," she said. "But Chloe, are you sure about this?" I wasn't sure about anything anymore, except that I needed answers. The boardroom fell silent as I walked in. Bailey sat in my usual chair, wearing another outfit from my closet. Colin stood behind her, hand on her shoulder, the perfect united front. "Chloe," Bailey said, all false sympathy, "this is a closed meeting. You're not authorized to—" "Funny thing about authorization," I cut in, moving to the head of the table. "It depends on who's really in charge, doesn't it, Colin?" He stiffened slightly. "What are you talking about?" I pulled out my mother's USB drive. 15 years ago, someone started building a shadow network inside this company. Secret accounts, hidden transfers, all traced back to one source. I met his eyes. "You've been playing this game since before Mom died, haven't you?" "That's ridiculous," Bailey snapped. "He didn't even work here then." "No, but his father did." The room went very still. Colin's face had turned to stone. "Robert Walsh," I continued, "board member, trusted advisor, and the man who helped set up our offshore accounts. The same accounts you're using now. You can't prove any of this," Colin said, but there was a tremor in his voice. I plugged in the USB drive. Documents filled the screen. Correspondence between my mother and Robert Walsh. Plans to expose his embezzlement scheme. Her final letter to me, explaining everything. "Mom knew," I said softly. "She was going to turn your father in. That's why she changed her will, isn't it? Insurance against what she knew was coming." Bailey had gone pale. "Colin? What is she talking about?" "She's lying," he snarled. "Just like she lied about—" "About what? My meetings with the board? The ones your father arranged to keep me distracted while he cleaned out the accounts?" I turned to Bailey. "He didn't tell you that part, did he? How his family has been stealing from ours for decades." "Enough." Colin slammed his hand on the table. "This is all very entertaining, but we have a vote to—" "No vote today." Cameron stepped forward, dropping her envelope on the table. "Federal investigators are on their way up. Seems they're very interested in those Cayman accounts, especially the ones linked to Robert Walsh's old employee ID." Colin moved faster than I expected, lunging for the door. Security caught him before he made it halfway. "Bailey," I said quietly, "it's not too late to choose the right side." She looked between us, tears streaming down her face. Then she stood, walked to Colin, and slapped him hard across the face. "I trusted you," she whispered. As federal agents filled the room, I watched my sister crumple into Cameron's arms. The truth had come out, but the cost was higher than I'd imagined. And something told me we weren't finished paying it yet. The interrogation room smelled like stale coffee and desperation. Colin sat across the table, his designer suit wrinkled, his perfect mask finally cracking. I'd waited 3 hours to face him, watching through one-way glass, as federal agents picked apart his lies. 10 minutes, the agent said, closing the door behind me. Colin's smile was ghost-thin. "Come to gloat?" "No." I sat down, folding my hands on the table. "I came to understand." "Understand what?" "How I played you." His laugh was hollow. "It wasn't hard. You were so desperate to be loved, to have the perfect family, just like your mother. Was that why you chose me? Because I reminded you of her?" Something flickered in his eyes. "I chose you because you were convenient, young, naive, sitting on a fortune you didn't deserve." "Like the fortune your father stole?" I leaned forward. "The money he embezzled while pretending to be Mom's friend." "My father was brilliant," Colin snarled. "He built this company as much as yours did. But your precious mother couldn't see that. She was going to ruin everything." So you finished what he started. Married me to get inside. Used Bailey to… Bailey, he sneered. So easy to manipulate. All those daddy issues. That desperate need for approval. One kind word, and she was putty in my hands. The door burst open. Bailey stood there, trembling. Cameron, right behind her. You son of a bitch, my sister whispered. Colin's face went slack. Baby, I didn't mean… Don't. Bailey's voice cracked. I heard everything. The agents let me listen. She turned to me, tears streaming. Chloe, I'm so sorry. I thought, he made me believe you were the villain. Divide and conquer, I said softly, just like his father taught him. You think you've won. Colin's composure shattered completely. You have no idea what's coming. Your mother's death wasn't an accident, and neither was your father's. You think my dad worked alone? The people behind this. The door opened again. Jonah entered, followed by a distinguished older man I'd never seen before. That's enough, son, the man said. Colin went white. Dad, Robert Walsh, looked every bit his 70 years as he approached the table. It's over. I've given them everything. Names, accounts, evidence going back 30 years. You can't, Colin whispered. They'll kill us. No one's killing anyone, Robert said. I made a deal. Full immunity in exchange for testimony against the entire network. I stared at the man who'd helped destroy my family. Why now? He met my eyes, and I saw genuine grief there. Because your mother was right about everything. And watching my son destroy another generation. I couldn't live with it anymore. Colin lunged across the table, hands reaching for his father's throat. Agents swarmed in, restraining him, as he screamed accusations of betrayal. Through it all, I stood perfectly still, watching the scene like it was happening to someone else, until I felt Bailey's hand slip into mine. What do we do now? She whispered. I squeezed her hand, remembering all the times I'd protected her when we were young. We rebuild. Together. After everything I did. You were a pawn, I said. We both were. But we're not pieces anymore. We're the players. As they led Colin away, still shouting, I turned to Robert. The complete truth about everything, including my parents. He nodded heavily. You deserve that much. But Chloe, some truths are harder than others. I can handle it. Can you? He pulled out an envelope, handed it to me. Your mother wrote this the night she died. She knew what was coming, but she thought she had more time to prepare you, to finish what she started. My hands shook as I opened it. Mom's familiar handwriting filled the page. My dearest Chloe, if you're reading this, I failed to protect you from what's coming, but I didn't fail to prepare you. Everything I've done, the lessons, the training, the seemingly endless preparation, was for this moment. They think they've won, but they don't understand what you're capable of. What we built isn't just a company, it's a weapon. Use it wisely. Use it for justice. All my love, Mom. I looked up at the room full of broken men and mended relationships, feeling the weight of legacy settle onto my shoulders. Jonah, I said quietly, call the board. It's time to finish what my mother started. Bailey squeezed my hand again. Whatever you need, I'm here. Cameron nodded firmly. We all are. The truth had nearly destroyed us. Now it would set us free. But first, we had work to do. The beach house looked exactly as I remembered. Weathered gray shingles, white trim, endless ocean beyond. But this time, I wasn't here to hide memories. I was here to make new ones. Ready? Bailey asked, carrying a box of files up the front steps. I nodded, unlocking the door. The foyer still smelled of sea salt and old wood, but the rest of the house had been transformed. Gone were Colin's pretentious art pieces and designer furniture. In their place, corkboards covered in documents, computers humming with data, the command center of our investigation. Cameron looked up from her laptop. Robert's testimony just implicated 3 more board members. The FBI's moving on them now. Good. I spread Mom's letter on the kitchen island, my touchstone these past weeks. What about the offshore accounts? Frozen, Jonah reported. Every penny they stole is being traced. But Chloe, he hesitated. There's something else. Something about your father's death. My heart stuttered. What about it? He pulled up an email chain. Robert confessed that your father discovered the embezzlement first. He was gathering evidence, planning to expose everything. The car accident that killed him wasn't an accident, I finished. The words tasted like ash. Bailey's hand found mine. There's more. Mom knew. That's why she started training you so young. Why she was so insistent about you learning every aspect of the business. She was preparing me for war, I whispered. And I never even knew we were fighting. The doorbell rang. Unexpected, since only our small team knew we were here. Cameron checked the security camera and went pale. It's Kayla, and she's not alone. On the screen, Kayla stood on our porch beside an elderly woman I'd never seen before. But something about her face. That's impossible, Bailey breathed. But it wasn't. When I opened the door, I found myself staring into eyes exactly like my mother's. Hello, Chloe, the woman said softly. I'm your Aunt Margaret, your mother's twin. The aunt we'd been told died before we were born. The aunt whose existence had been erased from every family record. I know this is a shock, Kayla said quickly. But after everything happened with Colin, I started digging. Found her living under an assumed name in Seattle. Why? I managed. Why did Mom hide you? Margaret's smile was sad. To protect me, and you. I was the company's original CFO, before your mother. I discovered the corruption first, tried to fight it. They tried to kill me, just like they later killed your father. Your mother helped me disappear, then took my place fighting them. And now, Bailey asked. Now I have 30 years of evidence against every person involved in this conspiracy. Names, dates, transactions, everything your mother and I collected. Together with Robert's testimony, we can end this, I finished. All of it. The next hours were a blur of revelations. Margaret's evidence filled in every gap, connected every dot. The corruption went deeper than we'd imagined. But so did the groundwork our mother had laid to fight it. Near dawn, I found myself on the beach, watching the sun rise over the Atlantic. Bailey joined me, 2 cups of coffee in hand. Remember when we used to sneak out here as kids? She asked. Watch the sunrise and pretend we were pirates? Planning imaginary adventures. I smiled. Mom used to catch us every time. She was teaching us even then how to be brave, how to fight for what matters. Bailey turned to me. I'm so sorry I forgot those lessons. We both did, but we remember now. Behind us, the beach house hummed with purpose. Inside, our team was preparing to release everything. All the evidence, all the truth, all the justice our parents died protecting. What happens after? Bailey asked. When this is all over? I thought of Mom's letter, of the weapon she'd built disguised as a company. Of the strength she'd planted in me, disguised as business lessons. We keep fighting, I said, not for revenge anymore, for something bigger. The sunrise painted the waves gold, like possibility made liquid. In that light, I could almost see Mom watching us, not the grieving daughter and the manipulated sister, but the warriors she'd raised us to be. Together, Bailey asked. I took her hand, feeling the weight of legacy transform into purpose. Together, I promised. We have a lot of work to do. The sun cleared the horizon, burning away the last shadows of our old life. Ahead lay truth, justice, and the real adventure our mother had prepared us for all along. This time, we were ready.
I knew something was wrong the moment I stepped into the ballroom. The air felt too thick, like trying to breathe underwater. And the champagne flute in my hand suddenly weighed 1,000 pounds. That's when I saw her. My wedding dress. My goddamn wedding dress on another woman's body. I froze mid-step, my heel clicking against marble with a sound that seemed to echo only in my head. Around me, the engagement party continued. Laughter, clinking glasses, the soft hum of expensive people having expensive conversations. But I couldn't hear any of it clearly. Just white noise and the thundering of my pulse. Elena, you actually came! Adam's voice cut through my shock. My ex-husband materialized beside me, his familiar cologne hitting me a second before his words did. Didn't think you'd have the guts. I stared at him. This man I'd spent 6 years loving, trying to reconcile the Adam I knew with this stranger, wearing a smirk that never used to be there. Why is she wearing my dress? The question came out steadier than I felt. He laughed, taking a sip of his whiskey. Oh, that. Angela found it at this vintage boutique. Isn't that wild? She fell in love with it. Complete coincidence. Bullshit. Complete bullshit. That dress had been custom made, hand-beaded, one of a kind. You know that's not possible. I kept my voice low, even as I felt heat crawling up my neck. Maybe you're not as unique as you think, Elena. His eyes flicked over me, assessing. Anyway, Angela wears it better. You've put on what, 15 pounds since the divorce? The comment landed like a slap. I'd lost weight, actually. 10 pounds of stress and heartache that melted away while I cried myself to sleep for months. I watched his new fiancée, young, blonde, laughing, twirling in my dress. My dress. The one thing I'd kept from our marriage besides scars. I'd sold it to a high-end consignment shop 3 months ago in what my therapist called a powerful act of closure. Some closure. Adam, you need to tell me the truth. Did you... Elena, I'm so glad you could make it. Olive, Adam's mother, appeared with her knife-edge smile. She'd never liked me. Too ambitious, too opinionated. Not the proper corporate wife her precious son deserved. Olive, I managed a tight smile. Congratulations on your future daughter-in-law. She looks familiar. Something flickered in her eyes. Satisfaction, maybe. Angela is exactly what Adam needs. You two were never quite right together, were you? Before I could respond, Adam's arm snaked around my waist, steering me away. His fingers dug into my hip, a warning. Let's get you a fresh drink, he muttered. You're making a scene. I wasn't, but I wanted to. At the bar, away from his mother, I turned to face him. Did you buy my dress from Eloise's Vintage? Did you specifically seek out my wedding dress for your child bride to wear to your engagement party that you invited me to? His smile never reached his eyes. You're being paranoid. It's just a dress. It's my dress. Was your dress. Past tense. Like our marriage. He signaled the bartender. Another whiskey, and whatever will calm her down. He nodded toward me. I don't need anything, I told the bartender. Then to Adam, why invite me at all? To torture me? Closure, Elena. I thought you'd appreciate the gesture. Aren't you the one who's always talking about healthy boundaries and moving on? He mimicked my voice on the last words. Besides, everyone's here. Wouldn't look right if my ex-wife was the only person missing. Everyone. I glanced around and spotted familiar faces from our shared life. Colleagues from his investment firm. Country club friends. Even my former sister-in-law, who'd sworn she'd always be my friend. All of them watching Angela float around in my dress, probably whispering about poor, discarded Elena. You're enjoying this, I realized aloud. Adam's smile widened. Don't be dramatic. I'm just celebrating my engagement. A burst of applause drew our attention. Angela stood in the center of the room, radiant in my dress, raising her glass. I just want to thank everyone for coming tonight, she gushed, and especially Elena for being so supportive. Not every ex-wife would be this gracious. All eyes turned to me, expectant, judging. I raised my glass mechanically, feeling like I was outside my body, watching this humiliation unfold. To new beginnings, I said, the words ash in my mouth. The crowd echoed the toast. Adam squeezed my shoulder, a gesture that might look friendly to others, but felt like a victory lap. See? Painless, he whispered. As people returned to their conversations, I caught Angela watching me. For just a second, her perfect smile slipped, revealing something calculating beneath. Then she winked at me before turning back to her admirers. That wink changed everything. This wasn't a coincidence. This was orchestrated. Every detail, the dress, the invite, the public humiliation, designed to break me. I set down my untouched drink. I need to use the restroom. Adam wasn't listening anymore, already drifting back toward his bride-to-be. I didn't head for the bathroom. Instead, I walked straight to the coat check, collected my things, and stepped into the cool night air. They thought they knew me, fragile, predictable Elena, who'd crumble under pressure. They were wrong. I pulled out my phone and made a call. "Celeste, it's me. I need your help with something." "He did what?" Celeste's voice crackled through my phone as I paced the sidewalk outside the hotel. 3 a.m. And sleep wasn't even a distant possibility. Had his new fiancée wear my wedding dress to their engagement party. My actual wedding dress. That's not just petty, that's pathological. Celeste had been my friend since college, before Adam, before everything. She'd never liked him. "And you're absolutely sure it was yours?" The left shoulder strap had that tiny repair where it tore during our first dance. I'd know that dress anywhere. My breath clouded in the night air. And then Angela winked at me, like we were sharing a joke. "What are you going to do?" I stopped under a streetlight, watching moths batter themselves against the glass. "I don't know yet, but I'm done being the sad ex-wife they can parade around for entertainment." "Elena," Celeste's tone shifted. "I get that you're hurt, but it's not about being hurt. It's about being played." I resumed pacing. He's trying to erase me, replace me with a younger model, and make me watch. And everyone's letting him. So don't let him. Walk away. Live your best life. That's the real revenge. I laughed, the sound harsh even to my own ears. "That's what my therapist says. But you didn't see his face, Celeste. He's winning, and he knows it." A car drove past, its headlights briefly illuminating the empty street. For a moment, I saw my shadow stretched long against the pavement, thin and distorted, barely there. "Come over," Celeste said finally. "You shouldn't be alone right now." Celeste's apartment was exactly what I needed. Warm, cluttered, safe. She handed me a mug of tea spiked with something stronger and settled beside me on her worn couch. "Start from the beginning," she said. "Not just tonight. When did things with Adam start feeling off?" I wrapped my hands around the mug. "Remember that business trip to Vancouver last year? He came back different, distant, started working late, guarding his phone." I took a sip, welcoming the burn. "I thought he was having an affair, but he swore he wasn't. Made me feel crazy for asking. Then, 3 months later, he tells me he needs space and moves out. And 2 months after that, he files for divorce," Celeste finished. "Fast-tracked it, too. His lawyer was brutal." I stared into my tea. "Then suddenly he's engaged to Angela, who's 10 years younger and works at his firm. The ink on our divorce papers was barely dry." Celeste tucked her legs under her. "So you think they were together before?" "I know they were, but that's not even what bothers me most." I set down my mug. "It's how he's rewriting our history, telling everyone I was cold, career-obsessed, didn't want children. But you put your promotion on hold when you were trying for a baby. 3 rounds of IVF, all while managing his mother's constant disappointment." My voice cracked. "And now he has the nerve to parade around this girl wearing my wedding dress like some sick trophy." Celeste was quiet for a moment. "What did you mean when you said you needed my help?" I hesitated. "I want the truth. About when their affair started. About what he's been telling people. I need to know if I've been the villain in his story all along. And then what? Then I decide if he deserves to keep his perfect new life intact." Celeste studied me. "That doesn't sound like you, Elena. Maybe I'm tired of being me." I met her gaze. "The me that everyone walks over." She reached for her laptop. "I'm not helping you do anything crazy, but information, that I can do." She typed for a moment. "Angela Kent, right? Let's see what social media tells us." We spent the next hour scrolling through Angela's Instagram, carefully curated photos of brunches, yoga poses, and, starting 8 months ago, subtle hints of a new relationship. No faces, just masculine hands holding coffee cups, the edge of a familiar watch. 8 months, I whispered. We were still together. "Wait, look at this!" Celeste pointed to a photo from last summer. Angela on a boat, Vancouver's skyline behind her. The caption, Business trips don't have to be all business, with a winking emoji. Vancouver. My stomach clenched. That's when it started. Celeste clicked through to the comments. One caught my eye. Our secret's getting harder to keep. Worth it, though. From a private account with only Adam's initials. I need to sit down. You are sitting down. Then I need to stand up. I paced Celeste's living room. He was with her in Vancouver, while I was injecting myself with hormones and planning our future. Elena! My phone buzzed with a text. Unknown number. I saw you leave early. We should talk. There's more you don't know. Meet tomorrow? Wayne. Who's Wayne? Celeste asked, reading over my shoulder. Adam's colleague. Quiet guy, always seemed uncomfortable around me. I frowned at the message. Why would he want to talk to me? Could be a trap. Adam sending someone to see how you're handling things. I considered this. Or he could have information. Be careful. Celeste took my phone and typed a response. What kind of information? The reply came quickly. The kind that explains why she was wearing your dress, and why Adam's mother hates you so much, not over text. I looked at Celeste, something new unfurling in my chest. Not hope exactly, something sharper. I'm meeting him, I decided. Not alone, you're not. I need to do this myself. I took my phone back. But I'll meet him somewhere public, I typed. Tomorrow, noon, the coffee shop on 9th. His response was immediate. I'll be there. And Elena, bring the flash drive from your desk drawer. The one Adam doesn't know about. My blood went cold. I hadn't thought about that flash drive in months. It contained backup files from when I'd helped Adam organize his home office last year, including financial records I'd never opened. How does he know about that? Celeste whispered. I stared at my phone, mind racing. I don't know, but I'm going to find out. I arrived at the coffee shop 20 minutes early, flash drive heavy in my coat pocket. Sleep had been impossible after leaving Celeste's apartment. Instead, I'd gone home and dug through old boxes until I found it. A small black rectangle containing pieces of Adam's life I'd never examined. The barista had just set down my Americano when I spotted Wayne entering, scanning the room with nervous energy. He looked different outside the office context, more human in jeans and a worn leather jacket than the crisp suits Adam insisted his team wear. He noticed me and approached, hands shoved deep in his pockets. You came, he said, sliding into the seat across from me. You made it sound important. Wayne ordered coffee, then leaned forward. I wasn't sure you'd bring it. He nodded toward my pocket, where I'd been unconsciously fingering the flash drive. I haven't decided if I'm giving it to you. I studied his face for signs of deception. How do you even know about it? Adam's been looking for it. Tore apart his office last week, then called Angela in a panic. Wayne's coffee arrived, but he ignored it. He thinks you might have taken it deliberately. Yeah, I didn't. I trailed off, remembering. We were organizing his home office before a tax audit. I backed up his financial documents as a precaution. Did you ever look at those files? I shook my head. It was just routine. Why would I? Wayne took a sip of his coffee, grimacing at the heat. Because Adam's been running 2 sets of books for years, one for the IRS, one for his clients. The words didn't make sense at first. Adam was arrogant, controlling, unfaithful. But a criminal? That's a serious accusation, I said carefully. It's why I left the firm 3 months ago. I found discrepancies, confronted him, and he offered me money to stay quiet. Wayne's voice was low, steady. I refused. He threatened to ruin my reputation if I went to the authorities. Why are you telling me this? Because that flash drive might contain proof. And because you deserve to know what kind of man you were married to. I pulled out the drive, turning it over in my hands. This doesn't explain the wedding dress. Wayne's expression darkened. That was Angela's idea. She found out you'd sold it and specifically tracked it down. She's not just Adam's girlfriend. She's his partner in everything. Including fraud? Especially that. She's the one who handles most of the offshore accounts. My head was spinning. Wait, back up. Adam's mother was at that party, watching Angela wear my dress. She had to know what they were doing. Olive doesn't just know, she introduced them. Wayne leaned closer. Vancouver last year? That was a setup. Olive had been pushing Angela at Adam for months. She never thought you were good enough for her son. The revelation hit like a physical blow. All those dinners with Olive, trying desperately to win her approval while she was actively working to replace me. How do you know all this? I asked, voice barely steady. Adam drinks, talks too much when he does. Wayne hesitated, and Angela and I dated briefly before she set her sights on Adam. I stared at him. So this is about revenge for you? Initially, maybe. He didn't flinch from my gaze. Now, it's about doing what's right. Adam's stealing from people who trust him. Elderly clients, family friends. I closed my fingers around the flash drive. If what you're saying is true, why not take this to the SEC yourself? Because they'll need more than just those files. They'll need testimony from someone on the inside. Wayne's eyes met mine. Someone like his ex-wife who had access to his home office, who might have noticed things. I didn't notice anything. Are you sure? Think back, Elena. The late-night calls he'd take in another room, the trips that never quite made sense. Memories surfaced. Adam insisting I never touch his work papers, the locked drawer in his desk, the unexplained cash deposits I'd glimpsed in our joint account before he moved all our finances to separate banks. I struggled for words. This is a lot. I know, and I'm sorry to dump it on you. Wayne looked genuinely apologetic. But when I saw you at that party, saw what they were doing to you. You were there? I interrupted. I didn't see you. I wasn't invited. I was meeting a friend at the hotel bar and saw you leave. Recognized that look on your face. His smile was grim. It's the same one I had when I realized who Adam really was. I took a long sip of my coffee, trying to process everything. What exactly are you suggesting I do? Help me build a case. Check what's on that drive. If there's evidence, we take it to the authorities together. And if I don't want to get involved? Wayne shrugged. That's your choice. But ask yourself, do you really want to let them win? Let them humiliate you and walk away clean? Before I could answer, my phone buzzed with a text. I glanced down and felt my stomach drop. Where are you? We need to talk. I'm outside your apartment. Adam. I showed Wayne the message. He knows, Wayne said quietly. Someone must have seen us. Or he's tracking my phone. A chill ran through me. He always knew my passwords. You need to be careful. Adam won't hesitate to destroy anyone who threatens him. Wayne stood. Don't go home, not yet. I can't just disappear. No, but you can buy time. He pulled out his phone. Text him back. Tell him you're shopping or at the gym, somewhere he can't easily check. My fingers hovered over the keyboard. This was the moment. Step into this conspiracy or walk away. I typed, at yoga. Need space after last night. Talk tomorrow? Adam's response was immediate. Fine. Dinner tomorrow, 7 p.m. We need to discuss some items of yours I found. I looked up at Wayne. He's bluffing, trying to see if I have the drive. Probably. Wayne held out his hand. So what's it going to be, Elena? Are you in? I pocketed the flash drive and stood up. I'm not giving you this, not yet, but I'll look at it myself. Fair enough. He nodded. But don't do it at home or on any device Adam might have access to. I'm not stupid. No, Wayne said, something like admiration in his eyes. I don't think you are. That's why they're scared of you. As I walked out, that thought settled into my bones. They were scared of me, not the other way around. And for the first time since seeing Angela in my wedding dress, I felt something close to power. I sat in Celeste's spare bedroom, staring at her laptop screen as files populated the window. My hands trembled slightly as I clicked through Adam's financial records, the reality of what I was seeing slowly sinking in. This can't be right, I muttered. Celeste leaned over my shoulder. What am I looking at? 2 different account statements for the same time period. I pointed to the screen. This one shows a $50,000 loss for the Gardner Retirement Fund, This one shows a $120,000 gain. Maybe it's for different clients? I shook my head. Same account number. He's showing losses to some people and gains to others. I clicked through more files. There are dozens like this. And look, offshore transfers to accounts in the Caymans. Huh, holy shit! Celeste straightened. Your ex-husband is running a Ponzi scheme. The words hung in the air, making it all real. Adam wasn't just a cheater. He was a criminal. I lived with him for 6 years, I said quietly. How did I not see this? Because he didn't want you to. Celeste squeezed my shoulder. What are you going to do? Before I could answer, my phone rang. Phoebe, my younger sister. Hey, I need to take this. I stepped into the hallway. Phoebe, what's up? Where are you? Her voice was tight with tension. Adam's looking for you. He came by my place. My stomach dropped. What? Why? Said he needed to talk to you about some financial documents that went missing during your divorce. Said it was urgent. She paused. Elena, he seemed really on edge. What's going on? I closed my eyes, leaning against the wall. It's complicated. Did you tell him where I was? Of course not. I said we hadn't talked in days. Another pause. Which is true, by the way. You've been MIA since the divorce. The guilt hit hard. I had withdrawn from everyone, including my sister. I'm sorry, Phoebe. Things have been difficult. Yeah, well, difficulty seems to be following you. Adam brought his mother with him. Olive was there? Alarm shot through me. She spent the whole time making these little comments about how worried they are about your mental state since the divorce. How you've been acting erratically. Phoebe's voice hardened. They're setting something up, Elena. Creating a narrative? My mind raced. If Adam suspected I had evidence of his fraud, he'd do anything to discredit me. Phoebe, listen to me. Don't tell anyone you've spoken to me, okay? Not even Mom. You're scaring me. I'm fine. I just need some time to handle something. I took a deep breath. Do you trust me? You know I do. Then trust that I'm okay, and I'll explain everything soon. After hanging up, I returned to find Celeste staring at the laptop with a troubled expression. There's something else, she said, turning the screen toward me. Look at these emails. I scanned the correspondence between Adam and his mother. Plans for the Vancouver trip. Discussions about Angela. And then I saw my name. Elena's getting suspicious. We need to accelerate the timeline. Are the papers ready? Remember, we need to protect the assets before she finds anything. Don't worry about Elena. She trusts you completely. She'll sign whatever you put in front of her. The emails were dated 3 weeks before Adam asked for a divorce. They planned everything, I whispered. The separation, the divorce, all of it. Elena, Celeste hesitated. These divorce papers. Did you read them carefully before signing? I thought back to those awful days, signing whatever my lawyer put in front of me, just wanting it to be over. I trusted my attorney. Who recommended your attorney? The realization hit like ice water. Adam did. He said since he was the one leaving, he'd cover the legal fees. Celeste's expression confirmed my fear. You need to get copies of what you signed. My phone buzzed with a text from Adam. We need to talk tonight, not tomorrow. This is serious, Elena. Another text followed immediately. If you're worried about the IRS questions, I can help. Just need those backup files you might have. He's getting desperate, I said, showing Celeste, which makes him dangerous. She closed the laptop. You can't meet him. If I don't, he'll know something's wrong. I paced the small room. I need to buy time. For what? To figure out what to do with this information. I gestured to the laptop. Wayne wants to go to the SEC, but what if Adam has connections there too? What if no one believes me? Celeste considered this. What about Angela? Could she be turned against him? I remembered Angela's wink at the party. No, Wayne says she's in on everything. Then we need leverage, something that would make Adam back off. An idea formed. Risky, possibly reckless, but it might work. I need to go to my apartment, I said suddenly. What? No, Adam might be waiting there. Not for what you're thinking. I grabbed my coat. There's a hidden safe in my closet. Adam doesn't know about it. I kept insurance there. Insurance? After I found lipstick on his collar 2 years ago, I started keeping records. Screenshots of suspicious texts I saw on his phone. Recordings of conversations where he discussed clients. I met Celeste's concerned gaze. I never used them because I wanted to believe him when he said nothing was happening. But they're there. That's still too dangerous. I'll be careful. Text Adam and tell him I'm meeting him at that Italian place he likes at ADL's. That gives me time to get in and out of my apartment. And if he's already there, then I'll deal with it. I felt a strange calm settling over me. I'm done running from him, Celeste. As I headed for the door, my phone buzzed with another message. Not from Adam this time, but Wayne. Angela just called me. They know we met. Be careful. They're pulling bank records to see if you've accessed any accounts. Don't go home. Too late. I was already halfway to my car, determination hardening into something stronger. For 6 years, Adam had written our story. Now I was taking back the pen. Rain pounded the windshield as I parked a block from my apartment building. Perfect weather for what I was about to do. Dark enough to provide cover, miserable enough to keep people indoors. I pulled my hood up and checked my phone one last time. 8:15 p.m. Adam would be at the restaurant by now, checking his watch, growing increasingly irritated as I failed to show. Good. I moved quickly through the rain, scanning for his car or any sign of Olive. The street was clear, but anxiety still crawled up my spine as I approached my building. This was either very smart or incredibly stupid. The lobby was empty. I took the stairs instead of the elevator, not wanting to announce my arrival with a ding. At my door, I paused, listening. Silence. I unlocked it as quietly as possible and slipped inside. My apartment felt different, like someone else's space. Had Adam been here? I moved through the darkened rooms, not daring to turn on lights, using my phone's flashlight to navigate to my bedroom closet. The safe was hidden behind a false panel at the back, installed years ago when I'd briefly dated a security consultant. I'd never told Adam about it, my one secret in a relationship where he demanded total transparency. I slid the panel aside and entered the combination. Inside lay a small fireproof box containing exactly what I'd come for: a USB drive, a small recording device, and a folder of printed documents. As I reached for them, a floorboard creaked behind me. I whirled around, heart hammering. Looking for something? Angela stood in my bedroom doorway, silhouetted against the hall light she'd switched on. I clutched the box to my chest. What are you doing in my apartment? Waiting for you. She stepped forward, surprisingly calm. Adam thought you might come here. So he sent his attack dog while he hides at the restaurant? I backed up against the closet. Classy. Adam doesn't know I'm here. She perched on the edge of my bed, looking oddly at home. I came on my own. That caught me off guard. Why? Because we need to talk, woman to woman. She gestured to the box in my arms. About whatever you think you have there, and about what I'm wearing. You mean my wedding dress? The anger I'd been suppressing flared. Was that your idea or his? Mine. She didn't even have the decency to look ashamed. I wanted to see you up close. The woman Adam couldn't stop talking about even after you were gone. If you came to gloat, I came to warn you. Her voice sharpened. You have no idea what you're getting into, Elena. Adam isn't just angry, he's scared. And that makes him dangerous. I studied her face, trying to read her angle. Why would you care? Because I've seen what happens to people who threaten him. She twisted the engagement ring on her finger. His last assistant found some discrepancies in the books. Asked too many questions. Now she can't get hired anywhere in finance. Is that supposed to scare me? It should. Adam has powerful friends. He's already talking to people about your fragile mental state since the divorce. The same narrative Olive had been feeding Phoebe. I felt cold despite the stuffiness of the room. Wayne told you about the fraud, didn't he? Angela continued. About the 2 sets of books? I kept my expression neutral. Why would Wayne tell me anything? Don't play dumb. We know you met with him. She leaned forward. What you don't know is that Wayne isn't the white knight he pretends to be. He was happy to look the other way until Adam passed him over for promotion. You're lying. Am I? Ask him about the Dennison account. Ask him where that money really went. My grip tightened on the box. If you're trying to confuse me, I'm trying to give you an out. Angela stood up. Walk away, Elena. Give Adam whatever files you have, sign a non-disclosure agreement, and he'll make it worth your while. You think I can be bought? Everyone has a price. She shrugged. Yours is $500,000. Enough to start over somewhere new. The offer hung in the air between us. $500,000 to forget what I'd seen. To let them continue stealing from people who trusted them. Why the wedding dress? I asked suddenly. If this is about buying me off, why humiliate me first? Something flickered across her face. Discomfort, maybe even guilt. That was a miscalculation. Adam said it would help break your confidence. She looked away. I didn't realize how it would feel, wearing another woman's memories. But you did it anyway. Yes. Her eyes met mine again, harder now. Because that's what it takes to survive in Adam's world. Compromise, sacrifice, doing things that make you hate yourself a little. The rain drummed against the windows, filling the silence between us. Is that what you want? I asked quietly. To survive in Adam's world? For a moment, her mask slipped. I saw uncertainty, maybe even fear. Then it was gone. What I want doesn't matter anymore. She moved toward the door. You have 24 hours to decide. After that, Adam will do whatever it takes to protect himself. And what about you? Will you do whatever it takes to protect him? She paused in the doorway. I'll do whatever it takes to protect myself. Her eyes flicked to the box in my hands. Just like you're doing. After she left, I stood frozen, listening to her footsteps fade down the hallway. The apartment door opened and closed. I sank onto my bed, mind racing. Angela's warning seemed genuine, but so did her threat, and her comment about Wayne troubled me. What if he wasn't the ally I thought? My phone buzzed with a text from Adam. Where are you? We had a deal. Then another. Just talked to Angela. Smart move coming home. Let's meet tomorrow. My office, 10 a.m. So Angela had already reported back to him. Whatever moment of honesty we'd shared was over. I opened the box and examined its contents. The recordings, the documents, evidence of Adam's indiscretions, but nothing concrete about the fraud. Not enough to protect me if he came after me with everything he had. I needed more, and I knew exactly where to get it. I texted Wayne. We need to talk about the Dennison account. His response was immediate. Who told you about that? Your move, Wayne, I wrote back. Either you're with me or you're with them. Wayne chose a diner on the outskirts of town for our meeting, the kind of place with sticky laminate menus and waitresses who called everyone Hun. I arrived first, sliding into a back booth with a clear view of both entrances. My evidence box sat beside me, a physical reminder of what was at stake. I'd barely slept after my encounter with Angela, her warnings mixing with memories of Adam until I couldn't separate truth from manipulation. Wayne arrived looking worse than I felt, unshaven, dark circles under his eyes, constantly glancing over his shoulder. You're being followed, he said without preamble, sliding into the booth. What? How do you know? Because I've been followed for 3 days. He ordered coffee when the waitress approached, then leaned forward. Black sedan, 2 men. They're parked across the street. I resisted the urge to look. Adam's doing? Probably. After you texted about Dennison, I knew they'd made contact. His eyes dropped to the box. Is that what I think it is? Depends what you think it is. I kept my hand firmly on the lid. Before we go any further, I need the truth about Dennison. Wayne's jaw tightened. Who told you about that account? Angela paid me a visit last night, said you weren't as innocent as you pretend to be. He laughed without humor. Of course she did. They're trying to turn us against each other. So there's nothing to tell? The waitress delivered his coffee. Wayne waited until she was out of earshot. Dennison was one of Adam's first fraudulent accounts, 5 years ago. He stirred his coffee without drinking it. I helped set it up. That's what Angela wanted you to know. The admission hung between us. I'd expected denials, not confession. So you were part of this? Yes. Before I understood what Adam was really doing. Wayne's knuckles whitened around his mug. He said it was a tax strategy for a difficult client. By the time I realized we were stealing from people's retirement funds, I was already implicated. Why should I trust you now? Because I'm the only one with nothing left to lose. He finally met my eyes. Adam took everything, my career, my reputation. All I have left is the chance to make this right. I studied him, searching for deception. Found only exhaustion and something that looked like regret. What's in the box, Elena? I hesitated, then opened it. Evidence of Adam's affairs. Recordings of him discussing clients inappropriately. Nothing concrete about the fraud. It's not enough. Wayne shook his head. Adam will claim you doctored the recordings out of spite. So what do? We need to get into his office computer. The real records are there, password protected. Wayne lowered his voice. And we need to move fast. Word is the SEC might already be looking into the firm. Isn't that what we want? Not if Adam destroys evidence first. Or worse, frames someone else. His eyes met mine. Like his unstable ex-wife who's been acting erratically since their divorce. The same narrative Olive had been spreading. I felt sick. I'm meeting Adam at his office today at 10, I said. He thinks I'm returning the flash drive. That's too dangerous. It's also our only chance to access his computer. I leaned forward. I'll distract him. You tell me exactly what to look for and where. Wayne started to protest, then stopped, considering. It could work, but you'll need this. He slid a small device across the table. It's a keystroke logger. If you can get it plugged into his computer, it will capture his passwords. I pocketed it, heart racing. What about the men following you? I'll lose them. I've done it before. He glanced at his watch. You should go. Take a different route back, just in case. As I gathered my things, Wayne caught my wrist. Elena, there's something else you should know. About Angela. What about her? She wasn't just Adam's mistress. She was Olive's goddaughter. His expression was grim. This whole thing, your marriage, the divorce, it might have been planned from the beginning. The diner seemed to tilt around me. That's not possible. We were married for 6 years. Long cons take time, especially when there's serious money involved. Wayne released my wrist. Just be careful. Trust no one. I left the diner in a daze, Wayne's words echoing. Could my entire marriage have been a setup? It seemed too elaborate, too cruel even for Adam. Yet as I drove toward the office building that had once been like a second home, memories resurfaced with new context. How Adam had pursued me relentlessly after we met at a charity event, Olive's charity event. How he'd insisted I quit my job at a competing firm to avoid conflicts of interest. How he'd managed our finances from day one. By the time I pulled into the parking garage, a cold clarity had settled over me. Whether Wayne was right about everything or not, one thing was certain. I'd been played. My phone buzzed with a text from Celeste. Are you sure about this? We could still go to the police. I typed back. With what? They'll believe Adam over me. I need proof. Be careful. Call me the second you're out. I tucked my phone away and checked my reflection in the rearview mirror. I looked calm, collected. Nothing like the turmoil inside me. The security guard nodded as I entered the building, recognizing me from my years as Adam's wife. Mrs. Warren, haven't seen you in ages. It's Ms. Warren now, Rick. I forced a smile. Just stopping by to drop something off. Mr. Warren's expecting you. Go right up. The elevator ride to the 12th floor gave me time to steady my breathing, to rehearse my approach. I needed to appear conciliatory, maybe even a little afraid. When the doors opened, Angela was waiting. Elena. Her smile didn't reach her eyes. Adam's on a call. He asked me to get you settled in his office. How convenient. She led me down the hallway, heels clicking on marble. Did you consider our offer? I'm here, aren't I? At Adam's office door, she paused. For what it's worth, I meant what I said last night. About being careful. Before I could respond, the door opened and Adam appeared, phone still pressed to his ear. I'll call you back, he said to whoever was on the line. His eyes locked on mine, cold and calculating. Elena, right on time. As I stepped into his office, I felt the weight of every decision that had led to this moment. There would be no going back after today. Let's talk, I said, closing the door behind me. Adam's office hadn't changed. The same mahogany desk, the same view of the city skyline, the same photo of us on our honeymoon that he'd never bothered to remove. I wondered if clients found it reassuring, this fiction of a happy marriage preserved in a silver frame. You look tired, he said, gesturing for me to sit. I remained standing. Funny how fraud investigations will do that to a person. His smile faltered for just a moment before returning, tighter than before. Always so dramatic, Elena. There's no investigation. Not yet. We studied each other across the expanse of his desk. I'd once found his confidence attractive. Now I saw it for what it was, the practiced ease of a man accustomed to getting away with everything. Do you have what I asked for? He held out his hand. I reached into my bag and produced the flash drive. Not the one with the evidence, but an identical decoy Wayne had provided. Before I give you this, I want answers. I kept my voice steady. About Angela, about the wedding dress, about all of it. Adam sighed, lowering his hand. What do you want to know? How long were you planning to replace me? It wasn't like that. Wasn't it? Angela is Olive's goddaughter. That's quite a coincidence. Something flickered in his eyes. Surprise that I knew, quickly masked. Who told you that? Does it matter? It's true, isn't it? He leaned back in his chair. Yes, Angela is Olive's goddaughter, but that has nothing to do with us. So you didn't meet her through your mother? Weren't pushed together at every opportunity? I stepped closer to his desk. Wasn't groomed to take my place? You're creating conspiracies where there are none. Adam stood, moving to the window. Our marriage ended because we wanted different things. You were obsessed with having a baby, with fitting some perfect family mold. I went through IVF because you wanted children. The words burst out before I could stop them. You were the one who talked about legacy, about carrying on the Warren name. And you were the one who failed to deliver. The cruelty in his voice was casual, practiced. 3 rounds of IVF, Elena. All that money spent, and nothing to show for it. The room seemed to tilt. We'd never spoken so bluntly about our fertility struggles. In all our fights, he'd never directly blamed me. So that's why you cheated? Because I couldn't get pregnant? I cheated because you were no longer the woman I married. He turned back to face me. You became obsessed, desperate. It wasn't attractive. Each word was a precision strike, targeting old insecurities. I recognized the technique now, the way he'd always twisted arguments to make me doubt myself. Not this time. I placed the flash drive on his desk. You know what I think? I think you never wanted children with me. I think it was a convenient excuse to make me feel inadequate while you set up your exit strategy. That's absurd. Is it? Because the timeline works perfectly. You pushed for IVF, knowing the hormones will make me emotional. You use that to paint me as unstable. Meanwhile, you're embezzling from clients and setting up Angela as my replacement. Adam's expression hardened. You need to be very careful about what you're implying, Elena. Or what? You'll ruin me? Spread rumors about my mental health? I laughed, the sound sharp in the quiet office. You're already doing that. He moved toward me, stopping just inches away. Give me the real flash drive, not this decoy. My heart stuttered. He knew. I don't know what you're talking about. Wayne isn't as loyal as you think. Adam smiled coldly. He called me this morning. told me everything. The betrayal hit like a physical blow. Wayne had set me up. All those warnings about being careful, about trust, while he was playing both sides. I needed to get out of there. "We're done here." I turned toward the door. Adam caught my arm, fingers digging in. "We're done when I say we're done." The old Elena would have flinched, would have tried to placate him. The new Elena twisted out of his grip and stepped back. "Don't touch me." "Or what?" He advanced again. "What exactly do you think you can do to me, Elena? I have everything. The money, the connections, the credibility. You have nothing. I have the truth." "The truth?" He laughed. "No one cares about the truth. They care about perception. And the perception is that you're a bitter ex-wife trying to destroy me because I moved on." As he spoke, I noticed his computer on the desk behind him. The keystroke logger felt heavy in my pocket. I needed to distract him. "The wedding dress," I said suddenly. "Why did you do that?" The question caught him off guard. "What? Why have Angela wear my wedding dress? What was the point of that cruelty?" Something like satisfaction crossed his face. "Because I wanted to see if you still cared, if you still had feelings for me." "That's pathetic." "Is it? You showed up. You let it hurt you." He stepped closer again. "You still love me, Elena. That's your problem. You always will." The arrogance, the absolute certainty in his voice ignited something in me. Not anger, but clarity. In that moment, I saw him completely. Not the man I'd loved, but the hollow shell I'd projected my hopes onto. "No, Adam, I don't love you." I met his gaze steadily. "I don't even know you, and I'm not sure I ever did." Confusion flickered across his face, quickly replaced by anger. "Enough games. Where's the real flash drive?" "With people you can't reach." I took a deliberate step toward his desk, toward his computer. "People who already have copies of everything." "You're bluffing." Am I?" I picked up the photo of us from his desk. "You know what's interesting about this frame? It's the one I gave you for our first anniversary, the one with the hidden compartment." His eyes widened slightly. I'd struck a nerve. "What hidden compartment?" I turned the frame over, pressing the secret latch I'd shown him years ago. A latch he'd apparently forgotten. The back panel slid open, revealing a small recording device. "The one that's been recording this entire conversation." I smiled as his face drained of color. "Including your admission about Angela and your mother." "Give me that." He lunged for the frame. I sidestepped him, using his momentum to slip behind his desk. In one fluid motion, I plugged the keystroke logger into his computer. "It's over, Adam." I backed toward the door, frame in hand. "You, Angela, your mother. You all underestimated me. That was your mistake." His face contorted with rage. "Security!" he shouted toward the door. "Security!" I yanked open the door to find Angela standing there, face pale. "Move," I told her. To my surprise, she stepped aside. As I walked past her, she whispered, "The Cayman accounts. Password is Olive Garden 1956. I froze for a split second, processing her betrayal. Of Adam, not me. Behind us, Adam was still shouting. Security would arrive any moment. "Why?" I asked her. Her eyes met mine, resolute. "Because you're right. It is over." I ran. The conference room at the SEC offices felt sterile and impersonal, all glass and chrome, designed to intimidate. I sat straight-backed in an uncomfortable chair, surrounded by serious-faced agents reviewing the evidence I'd provided. "And you obtained this password how, exactly?" Agent Reeves asked, not looking up from her notes. "An anonymous tip." I kept my promise to Angela. Whatever her reasons for helping me, I wouldn't expose her. "Convenient." Agent Reeves didn't sound convinced. "The evidence speaks for itself." I gestured to the screens where Adam's financial records were displayed. The Cayman accounts, the double books, the client statements, it's all there. Along with your recording of Mr. Warren essentially admitting to setting you up. Agent Reeves finally met my eyes. That was resourceful. I didn't tell her about the keystroke logger. Some details were better left unshared. What happens now? I asked. We continue our investigation. Mr. Warren and several associates have been brought in for questioning. She closed her folder. You're free to go, Ms. Warren. We'll be in touch if we need anything else. Outside, the October air felt crisp and clean after the stifling conference room. I checked my phone. 3 missed calls from Celeste, 1 from Phoebe, and a text from Wayne. Need to talk. Meet me? After his betrayal, Wayne was the last person I wanted to see. But curiosity won out. I texted back, "Where?" His response came immediately, "The bench." You know the one. I did know. It was where we'd first discussed Adam's fraud. A public place, safely neutral. Wayne was already waiting when I arrived, looking more haggard than ever. He stood when he saw me, uncertainty in every line of his body. I wasn't sure you'd come. I almost didn't. I remained standing, keeping distance between us. Adam said you called him, warned him about me. I did. Wayne didn't try to deny it, but not for the reason you think. Enlighten me. I needed him to believe I was still on his side. It was the only way to get access to his private server. Wayne pulled out his phone, showing me an email. I sent this to the SEC yesterday morning, before you went to Adam's office. I scanned the email, detailed instructions for accessing Adam's hidden accounts, including server locations and passwords. You set him up, I realized. Used me as a distraction while you gathered the final evidence. Used is a strong word. Wayne pocketed his phone. I knew you were smart enough to handle Adam, and I knew he'd be focused on you, not on what I was doing. You could have told me. Would you have agreed to it? To being the decoy? I considered this. Probably not. Exactly. He gestured to the bench. Can we sit, please? I hesitated, then sat at the far end. Wayne took the hint and kept his distance. There's something else you should know, he said. About Angela. She gave me the password to the Cayman accounts. Surprise flickered across his face. She did? Right after I left Adam's office. She turned on him. I studied Wayne's reaction. You didn't know? No. He looked genuinely shocked. I thought she was loyal to the end. Apparently not. I remembered the resolve in Angela's eyes. I think she was tired of being controlled. By Adam? By all of them. Adam, Olive. I trailed off, pieces clicking into place. Did you know Olive was involved in the fraud too? Wayne nodded. She was the one who brought in the wealthy clients, old money families who trusted the Warren name. The full scope of their operation was still unfolding, a family business built on lies and theft, and I had been an unwitting part of it. What will you do now? Wayne asked. The question caught me off guard. I'd been so focused on exposing Adam that I hadn't thought beyond this moment. I don't know, I admitted. Start over, I guess. For what it's worth, I'm sorry. Wayne's voice was quiet. For not being honest with you. I should have been angry. Instead, I felt a strange sense of peace. We all did what we had to do. I stood, ready to leave this bench and everything it represented behind. Goodbye, Wayne. Phoebe's apartment was warm and chaotic, exactly what I needed after the sterile SEC offices. She opened the door and immediately pulled me into a fierce hug. I saw the news, she said into my hair. Adam's firm is under federal investigation. That was you, wasn't it? Part of it. I followed her inside, where Celeste was already waiting, an open bottle of wine on the coffee table. The avenging angel returns, Celeste said, pouring me a glass. How does it feel? I took the wine, considering. Unfinished. What do you mean? Phoebe settled beside me. Adam's going down, you won. It's not about winning. I took a sip, letting the warmth spread through me. There's one more thing I need to do. The storage facility was on the outskirts of town. Anonymous, secure, forgettable. I entered the code and rolled up the door to Unit 247. Inside sat a single garment bag. I unzipped it slowly, revealing my wedding dress. The real one. I'd never sold it to any consignment shop. That had been a story I told my therapist, my friends, myself. The truth was, I hadn't been ready to let go. Until now. I lifted the dress, feeling its weight one last time. The beadwork caught the fluorescent light, memories shimmering across the fabric, some beautiful, some painful, all part of me. From my bag, I took out a small card and a pen. I wrote a simple message, then attached it to the dress. Outside, I placed the garment bag carefully in a donation box for a women's shelter that provided professional clothing for job interviews and special occasions. Someone else would make new memories in this dress, better ones. My phone buzzed with a news alert. Warren Investment CEO and CFO indicted on multiple fraud charges. I didn't need to read it. That chapter was closed. As I walked to my car, I felt lighter than I had in years. Adam had taken many things from me, my trust, my confidence, years of my life, but he'd never taken my resilience. That had always been mine. My phone rang. The caller ID showed a number I didn't recognize. Hello? Ms. Warren? This is Diane from Horizon Marketing. We received your application and would like to schedule an interview. The job I'd applied for last week, a fresh start in a new city. Yes, I said, smiling into the phone. I'm available. As I drove away, I thought about the note I'd left with the wedding dress. The past doesn't define you. Neither do the people who couldn't see your worth. This dress deserves a better story. So do you. So did I.
I always thought the universe had a sense of humor, but on my 10th wedding anniversary, I discovered it has a sick one. The morning started perfectly. I woke up early to make Doug's favorite breakfast: blueberry pancakes with real maple syrup, crispy bacon, and that fancy coffee he loves, the one that costs more than my first car payment. I'd been planning this day for weeks. Something smells amazing, Doug said, wrapping his arms around my waist as I flipped the last pancake. His chin rested on my shoulder, and I leaned back into him, savoring the familiar weight of his body against mine. Happy anniversary, I whispered, turning to kiss him. His lips tasted like toothpaste and home. Happy anniversary, Presley. He smiled that crooked smile that still made my stomach flutter after a decade. I can't believe you remembered the pancakes. I remember everything. I tapped his nose with my finger, including that you have that big meeting with Cooper today. I thought you might need brain food. We ate breakfast together at our little kitchen island, knees touching, planning our weekend getaway. Doug had booked a cabin in the mountains, the same one where he'd proposed. I'd already packed my bag, hiding the new lingerie beneath my hiking clothes. I have to run, he said, glancing at his watch. Dinner tonight? That Italian place you love? It's a date. I kissed him goodbye, tasting maple syrup and possibility. After he left, I cleaned up the kitchen, humming to myself. 10 years. A decade of building a life with my best friend. We'd weathered job changes, a miscarriage, his father's death. We'd bent, but never broken. I glanced at the clock. 11:30. Doug's meeting with Cooper would be wrapping up soon. On impulse, I decided to surprise him with lunch. I knew how stressed he'd been about this presentation, and I wanted to celebrate with him if it went well, or comfort him if it hadn't. I picked up sandwiches from that deli near his office, pastrami on rye with extra mustard for him, turkey and avocado for me. As I drove downtown, I called Rachel, my best friend since college. "How's the anniversary so far?" she asked. "Perfect. I'm surprising Doug with lunch. Want to meet us?" "Oh, I can't today," she said quickly. "I've got a thing." "A thing?" I laughed. Very specific. "You know how it is," she said. "Have fun with Doug. Tell him I said happy anniversary." I pulled into the parking garage of Doug's building, excitement bubbling in my chest. The security guard waved me through. I visited often enough that he knew me by name. "Hey, Mike," I called. "Is Doug in?" "Sure is, Mrs. Bryant. Been here all morning." I took the elevator to the 14th floor, balancing the bag of sandwiches and 2 iced teas. The receptionist wasn't at her desk, so I walked straight back to Doug's office. His door was closed, but I could hear voices inside. The meeting must be running long. I hesitated, not wanting to interrupt if Cooper was still there. But then I heard laughter, a woman's laughter, not the receptionist or Doug's assistant, a laugh I knew as well as my own. Rachel. My hand froze on the doorknob. Why would Rachel be in Doug's office when she'd just told me she had a thing? I stood there, heartbeat thundering in my ears, as a cold certainty washed over me. I knew before I opened the door. I knew, and still I turned the handle. The first thing I saw was Doug's bare back. The second was Rachel's manicured fingers, the ones I'd held while she cried over her divorce last year, digging into his shoulders. They didn't hear me. They didn't see me. They were too wrapped up in each other on Doug's desk, the desk I'd helped him pick out when he made partner. My body moved on autopilot. I set down the sandwiches. I pulled out my phone. I started recording. The video is 18 seconds long. 18 seconds of my husband and my best friend destroying 10 years of trust. 18 seconds that turned my life into before and after. I closed the door as quietly as I'd opened it. No dramatic confrontation. No screaming. Just the soft click of the latch and the weight of betrayal settling into my bones. In the elevator, a woman asked if I was okay. I must have looked like a ghost. "It's my anniversary," I said, and she smiled sympathetically, assuming my tears were happy ones. I drove home in a fog, muscle memory guiding me through traffic lights and stop signs. Inside our house, the house Doug and I had painted together, arguing over shades of blue for the bedroom, I sat on the edge of our bed and watched the video again, and again, and again. My hands shook as I pressed play for the fourth time. There they were, the two people I trusted most in the world, betraying me on the day that was supposed to celebrate love and commitment. I zoomed in on Rachel's face, contorted in pleasure, on Doug's hands, still wearing the wedding band I'd placed there a decade ago. Something cold and hard crystallized inside me. This wasn't just about sex. This was about lies, about making a fool of me, about breaking something precious and irreplaceable. As I stared at the frozen image on my phone screen, I knew one thing with absolute certainty. They would pay for this, both of them, and I would be the one to collect. I sat in our bedroom for hours, my phone battery draining as I watched the video on repeat. Each viewing should have numbed me. Instead, it only sharpened the pain, like a knife being honed against stone. The sun had set by the time my phone buzzed with Doug's text. "Running late. Meet at the restaurant at 8?" I stared at those casual words. How could he type something so normal when nothing would ever be normal again? I imagined him straightening his tie in his office bathroom, Rachel helping him smooth down his hair, both of them laughing about the wife waiting at home. "Sure," I replied. "See you there." See you. I showered mechanically, water scalding my skin as I scrubbed away tears. The anniversary dress I'd bought, a deep blue that Doug once said matched my eyes, hung on the closet door. I couldn't bear to touch it. Instead, I pulled on jeans and a sweater, clothes for a normal day, not the day my marriage died. My phone buzzed again. Rachel this time. How was the surprise lunch? The audacity stole my breath. She knew I'd planned to surprise Doug. She'd been there, on his desk, when I arrived. Was this some sick game to her? To see how close she could dance to the truth without getting caught? I left her message unanswered and drove to the restaurant in a fog. The maitre d' smiled when I gave Doug's name. "Ah yes, the anniversary dinner. Your husband is already seated." Doug stood when he saw me, his face lighting up with that smile I used to believe was only for me. He changed into a fresh shirt. Of course he had. Couldn't smell like another woman on our anniversary. "There's my beautiful wife," he said, leaning in to kiss me. I turned my face at the last second, his lips grazing my cheek. If he noticed, he didn't show it. "I ordered champagne," he said, gesturing to the bottle chilling beside our table. 10 years deserves the good stuff. I sat down, studying his face across the flickering candle. Did he look different? Was there some mark of betrayal I'd never noticed before? Or had he always been this person, and I'd been too blinded by love to see it? "How is your meeting with Cooper?" I asked, my voice steadier than I felt. "Good. Great, actually." Doug poured champagne into my glass. He's on board with the expansion plan. That's all you did today? The meeting with Cooper? He hesitated, just a microsecond. Yeah, why? No other meetings? No unexpected visitors? Another pause. Just the usual office stuff. Why are you asking? The waiter appeared to take our orders. Doug chose for both of us. He always did on special occasions. Usually I found it romantic. Tonight it felt like another form of control. Remember our first date? Doug asked after the waiter left. That terrible Chinese restaurant where the waiter spilled soup all over me? I remember, I said. You were wearing your blue shirt, the one Rachel helped you pick out. His smile faltered. Was it? I don't recall. Oh, I'm sure it was. Rachel remembers too. We were just talking about it the other day. Doug's fingers tightened around his champagne glass. You and Rachel talk about my shirts? We talk about everything. I met his eyes. Best friends do that. The food arrived, saving him from responding. I watched him cut into his steak, the same hands that had been all over Rachel hours earlier now wielding a knife with practiced precision. I went by your office today, I said suddenly. Doug's fork clattered against his plate. You did? Mm-hmm. Around lunchtime. I took a sip of champagne, letting the moment stretch. But you weren't there. I was probably in the conference room with Cooper. You should have texted. Should I have? I pulled out my phone, set it on the table. Is that what a wife is supposed to do? Text before visiting her husband's office? Give him time to, what, straighten his tie? Zip his pants? Doug's face drained of color. Presley, what are you talking about? I'm talking about you fucking my best friend on your desk on our anniversary. The couple at the next table glanced over. Doug leaned forward, voice low and urgent. Keep your voice down. You're making a scene. I'm making a scene? I laughed, the sound brittle even to my own ears. That's what you're worried about? Let's discuss this at home, he hissed. Not here. Why? Afraid someone might hear what kind of man you really are? You're upset, I get it, but you're jumping to conclusions. Am I? I picked up my phone, turned it toward him. Should I press play, Doug? Let you see what I saw? His eyes widened as understanding dawned. You recorded us? 18 seconds of my husband and my best friend betraying me. Want to watch it? Maybe the waiter would like to see too. Doug reached for my hand. I yanked it away. Presley, please. It's not what you think. It's exactly what I think. I stood up, legs shaking. 10 years, Doug. 10 years of my life with a man who could look me in the eyes and lie without blinking. Sit down, he pleaded. Let me explain. There's nothing to explain. I saw you. I saw her. I grabbed my purse. Enjoy your anniversary dinner. I'm sure Rachel's available if you need company. I walked out of the restaurant with my head high, ignoring the curious stares. In the parking lot, my composure cracked. I slumped against my car, gulping in the cold night air. My phone buzzed with a text from Doug. Come home. We need to talk. Another notification appeared, Rachel calling. I declined, then blocked her number with trembling fingers. The drive home was a blur. I didn't cry. Something had hardened inside me, like amber preserving a moment in time. The moment I decided I wouldn't just walk away. They thought they knew me, sweet, trusting Presley who always saw the best in people. They had no idea what I was capable of. I pulled into our driveway and sat in the dark, formulating a plan. Doug would come home expecting tears, apologies, maybe even forgiveness. He would find none of those things. Thunder rolled outside our bedroom window, nature's percussion matching my stormy thoughts. I hadn't slept. How could I, knowing Doug would eventually come home to explain away his betrayal? I'd heard his key in the lock around midnight, his hesitant footsteps in the hallway, but he'd retreated to the guest room without confronting me. Coward. By morning, the rain was hammering against the roof in angry sheets. I dressed for work methodically, black pencil skirt, white blouse, armor for the battlefield my life had become. In the kitchen, I found Doug hunched over coffee, his eyes bloodshot. Presley, he started, rising from his chair. We need to talk. I'm late for work. I poured coffee into my travel mug, my movements precise and controlled. It's Saturday. Some of us have integrity about our commitments. I screwed the lid on tight, unlike others. Doug ran his hand through his hair, a gesture I once found endearing. Now it just reminded me of Rachel's fingers doing the same thing. What you saw? It wasn't... If you say it wasn't what it looked like, I swear to God I will throw this scalding coffee in your face. He stepped back, eyes wide. Good. Let him be afraid. It was a mistake, he said finally. A terrible, unforgivable mistake. But it was only once, I swear. I laughed, the sound sharp enough to cut glass. Only once? Oh, well, that changes everything. Should we renew our vows now or wait until after breakfast? Presley, please. Has she called you? I asked suddenly. Rachel, have you talked to her since I left the restaurant? His hesitation told me everything. Of course you have. I moved toward the door. You two probably had a good laugh about your hysterical wife. It's not like that. Doug blocked my path. She's worried about you. We both are. Move. Not until you listen. I set down my coffee, pulled out my phone, and dialed. Hi, Mark, it's me. Can you come over? Doug won't let me leave the house. My voice broke convincingly. I'm scared. Doug's face paled. You called your brother? Jesus, Presley, I'm not keeping you prisoner. I ended the call. Then move. He stepped aside, hands raised in surrender. This isn't solving anything. I'm not interested in solving anything, I said, retrieving my coffee. I'm interested in surviving. I drove to work despite it being Saturday, needing somewhere to go that wasn't home. The office was quiet, just a few dedicated souls catching up on paperwork. I locked myself in my office and finally allowed myself to cry, quick, angry tears that I wiped away almost as soon as they fell. My phone buzzed with texts from Doug, from Mark asking if I was okay, and most infuriatingly, from Rachel. We need to talk, please. It's not what you think. I blocked her number again, wondering how she'd gotten through after I'd blocked her yesterday. Technology, like loyalty, apparently had its limits. A knock at my door made me jump. Presley, you okay in there? It was Layla, my closest work friend, peering in with concern. I thought I heard someone. I quickly wiped my eyes. Just catching up on some reports. Layla stepped in, closing the door behind her. On a Saturday? In yesterday's makeup? She sat down across from me. What happened? Something about her direct gaze broke my composure. The story spilled out. The anniversary, the surprise lunch, the video, the disastrous dinner. Oh, honey. Layla reached across the desk to squeeze my hand. I've been exactly where you are. I blinked in surprise. You have? 3 years ago, Tom and his dental hygienist. She smiled grimly. Such a cliché, right? I didn't know. We worked through it, counseling, lots of tears, more anger than I knew I could feel. She shrugged. It was the hardest thing I've ever done, but our marriage is stronger now. I stared at her, incredulous. You forgave him? Eventually. Not right away. She leaned forward. Look, I'm not saying that's your path, but don't make any decisions while you're still in shock. I'm not in shock, I said. I'm in hell. That too. She squeezed my hand again. Whatever you need, I'm here. After Layla left, I sat at my desk, turning her words over in my mind. Forgiveness? The very idea made my stomach turn, and yet, seeing her, strong, confident Layla, talk about working through betrayal made me wonder if I was overreacting. No. The image of Doug and Rachel flashed in my mind. This wasn't about sex. It was about trust, about respect, about 10 years of my life built on quicksand. My phone buzzed with a text from a number I didn't recognize. It's Mia. Rachel's a mess. She says there's more to the story. Can we meet? Mia, our mutual friend, always caught in the middle. I hesitated, then replied, Starbucks on 4th, 1 hour. I arrived early, choosing a table in the corner where I could watch the door. Mia rushed in 15 minutes late, her curly hair damp from the rain. Thanks for meeting me, she said, sliding into the chair across from me. I wasn't sure you would. I almost didn't. I stirred my untouched latte. What's this more to the story bullshit Rachel's feeding you? Mia fidgeted with her coffee sleeve. She says it was a one-time thing, that she was helping Doug plan your anniversary surprise and things. Escalated. My anniversary surprise was sex on his desk? I laughed bitterly. How thoughtful. She's devastated, Presley. She knows she betrayed you. Good. The thing is, Mia hesitated, I think there's something else going on, something neither of them is saying. I leaned forward. What do you mean? Rachel mentioned financial problems, something about Doug being in trouble. She shook her head. I don't know details, but she was crying about how she'd made everything worse. I sat back, processing this new information. Doug, in financial trouble. He handled our money, our investments, our future. Why would sleeping with my husband solve financial problems? I asked. I don't know. Mia looked miserable. I just thought you should know there might be more going on. As I drove home, rain lashing against my windshield, a new plan began forming in my mind. If Doug was hiding financial secrets alongside his infidelity, I needed to know. Before confronting him, before deciding anything, I needed the full picture. The betrayal had just become a puzzle, and I was very, very good at solving puzzles. The woman in the mirror wasn't me. She had my features, the same dark hair, the same blue eyes, but something fundamental had changed. 3 days of sleepless nights had hollowed her cheeks and darkened the skin beneath her eyes. But it was more than physical exhaustion. There was a hardness there, a calculation that hadn't existed before. I leaned closer, studying this new version of myself. Who are you becoming? I whispered. No answer came, just the distant sound of Doug moving around downstairs. We'd been circling each other like wary animals since Saturday, sleeping in separate rooms, communicating in terse texts about practical matters. I'll be late tonight, leftovers in the fridge, bill payment due tomorrow. The charade of normalcy was almost more painful than the betrayal itself. I finished applying my makeup, armor for another day of pretending I wasn't falling apart, and headed downstairs. Doug was at the kitchen table, laptop open, brow furrowed. Morning, I said, my voice carefully neutral as I reached for the coffee pot. He startled, quickly closing his laptop. Hey, I didn't hear you come down. That small gesture, the guilty closing of his computer, confirmed what I'd begun to suspect after talking with Mia. Whatever was happening went beyond the affair. Plans today? I asked casually, stirring cream into my coffee. Just work, meetings. He rubbed his temple. You? The usual. I leaned against the counter, studying him. The confident man I'd married looked diminished somehow, shoulders hunched under an invisible weight. Everything okay with the Anderson account? His eyes flickered to mine, surprise evident. Why do you ask? Just curious. You've been stressed about it. It's fine. Too quick, too dismissive. Everything's fine. I nodded, sipping my coffee. Good to hear. At the office, I closed my door and pulled out the notebook where I'd been documenting everything I could remember about our finances. Joint checking account at First National, investment portfolio managed by Westlake Partners, retirement accounts, the mortgage, all things Doug handled. I'd always trusted him with money matters. He was the financial whiz, after all. Now that trust felt like another weapon he'd used against me. A knock interrupted my thoughts. Got a minute? It was Guillermo, one of our senior analysts. I need your signature on these reports. Sure, I gestured to the chair across from me. How's everything going with the Miller project? On track. He set the reports down, then hesitated. Are you okay, Presley? You seem different lately. I forced a smile. Just tired. Busy time of year. Guillermo studied me, his dark eyes kind, but penetrating. If you need anything, work-related or otherwise, I'm here. I appreciate that. After he left, I stared at the closed door, thinking about his offer. Guillermo had gone through a messy divorce last year, Maybe he could help navigate the financial labyrinth I was facing, but that would mean admitting my marriage was over. I wasn't ready for that. Not yet. My phone buzzed with a text from Mark. "Lunch today? Need to talk to you." I met my brother at a deli near his office. Mark was already there, his expression grim as I slid into the booth across from him. "You look like hell," he said by way of greeting. "Thanks. You always know just what to say." He pushed a sandwich toward me. "Turkey on rye, extra pickles. Eat." I took a bite to appease him, though food had lost its appeal days ago. "What's so urgent?" Mark leaned forward, lowering his voice. "I ran into Rachel yesterday." My stomach clenched. "And?" "She was a mess, Press. Crying, begging me to convince you to talk to her." "Did she happen to explain why she was screwing my husband?" Mark winced. "She tried. Something about helping Doug with financial problems and things getting complicated." "That's the story she's going with?" I set down my sandwich. "That she slept with my husband as some kind of... What? Financial aid?" "I'm just telling you what she said." Mark's eyes softened. "Look, what they did is inexcusable. But you need to talk to Doug. Really talk, not just exchange cold shoulders and colder texts." "Why? So he can lie to me again?" "So you can figure out what you want to do." Mark reached across the table, covering my hand with his. "Are you filing for divorce? Trying to work it out? You need information to make those decisions." I pulled my hand away. "I'm getting information, just not from them." Mark's eyebrows rose. "What does that mean?" "It means I'm not as naive as everyone thinks." I stood up, suddenly needing to escape his concerned gaze. "Thanks for lunch." "Presley, wait. I have to get back to work." I spent the afternoon making calls to our bank, our investment firm, our accountant. Each conversation revealed another layer of deception. Accounts I didn't know about, withdrawals I couldn't explain, a second mortgage taken out 6 months ago. By 5 o'clock, I had a clearer picture, and it was uglier than I'd imagined. Doug hadn't just betrayed me emotionally, he'd put our financial future at risk. I was still processing this when my phone rang. Cooper James, Doug's business partner. "Presley? Sorry to bother you, but is Doug with you?" "No, why?" "He missed our investor meeting, not answering his phone. It's not like him." A cold feeling settled in my stomach. "When did you last hear from him?" "This morning." "We were supposed to discuss..." Cooper paused. "Well, some discrepancies in the accounts." "What kind of discrepancies?" Another pause. "I think that's something you should discuss with Doug." "Cooper," I said, my voice steady despite my racing heart, "if my husband is in trouble, I need to know." The silence stretched so long I thought he'd hung up. "There's money missing," he finally said. "A lot of money, and the trail leads to Doug." After we hung up, I sat motionless, staring at the wall. The betrayal had just expanded exponentially. Not just an affair, but theft, embezzlement. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. "It's Rachel. Please don't block this number. There's something you need to know about Doug. He's not who you think he is. None of this is what you think." I stared at her message, anger and curiosity warring within me. Then I made a decision. "Meet me at Lakeside Park, 7 p.m. Come alone." It was time to hear what my former best friend had to say. Not because I was ready to forgive, but because I needed every weapon I could get for the war ahead. Lakeside Park was nearly empty as dusk settled over the water. A few joggers circled the path, and an elderly couple fed ducks near the shore. I sat on a bench facing the lake, watching ripples distort my reflection into something unrecognizable, fitting since I barely knew myself anymore. The sound of hesitant footsteps made me look up. Rachel stood a few feet away, her usual confident posture replaced by something smaller, more uncertain. Her eyes were red-rimmed, her normally perfect makeup absent. "Thank you for meeting me," she said, her voice barely audible above the evening breeze. I didn't invite her to sit. Talk. She wrapped her arms around herself, as if cold, despite the mild evening. "I don't know where to start. How about with why you were fucking my husband on our anniversary?" Rachel flinched. I deserve that. I deserve worse. She took a shaky breath. What happened between Doug and me? It wasn't planned. It wasn't an affair. I have video evidence that says otherwise. That was the first time. Her eyes met mine, pleading. The only time. And it happened because I was trying to help him fix the mess he'd created before you found out. I laughed bitterly. So sleeping with him was what? A bonus service? It was a mistake. The biggest mistake of my life. She moved closer, though still keeping a safe distance. But you need to know what Doug's involved in. It's bad, Presley. Really bad. Cooper already told me about the missing money. Rachel shook her head. It's more than that. Doug's been laundering money for some very dangerous people, the kind who don't forgive mistakes. The world seemed to tilt beneath me. What are you talking about? He approached me 6 months ago, asking for legal advice. Rachel's voice dropped lower. He was already in deep, gambling debts, bad investments. He borrowed money from the wrong people. And you, being such a good friend, decided to help him hide it from me? My voice rose despite my effort to stay calm. For 6 months? I thought I could fix it. Her composure cracked. I thought if I helped him repay the money, you'd never have to know how close he came to losing everything. So you just lied to my face, day after day. To protect you. To protect him, I corrected. And yourself. Rachel's shoulders slumped. Maybe you're right. Maybe I was protecting all of us from the truth, that Doug isn't who we thought he was. A jogger passed, glancing curiously at our tense standoff. I waited until he was out of earshot before continuing. Why should I believe anything you're saying? Rachel reached into her purse and pulled out a thumb drive. Because I brought proof, financial records, emails, everything I've gathered over the past 6 months. It's all here. I stared at the small device she held out. And the sex? Was that part of your protection plan too? Her hand trembled. That day in his office, he told me he couldn't pay the money back, that these people were threatening him, threatening you. I was trying to calm him down, figure out what to do next, and then... She shook her head. It just happened. One terrible, stupid moment of weakness. On our anniversary. The date still stung like salt in an open wound. I didn't know it was your anniversary until after when you called. Tears spilled down her cheeks. I hate myself for what I did to you. But right now, there's something more important than my guilt or your anger. What could possibly be more important? Doug's missing. The words hit me like a physical blow. What do you mean missing? He's not answering calls or texts. Hasn't been to the office. His car is gone from the parking garage. Rachel held out the thumb drive again. These people he owes money to, they don't send collection notices, Presley. They send messages, painful ones. I took the drive, my fingers numb. You think they have him? I think he's running, and if he is, you might be in danger too. The drive home was a blur, Rachel's warnings echoing in my head. I kept checking my rearview mirror, suddenly paranoid about every car that stayed behind me for more than a few blocks. Our house was dark when I pulled into the driveway. I sat in the car, staring at the home Doug and I had built together, now just a shell containing broken promises and lies. My phone buzzed with a text from Mark. Just checking in. You okay? I started to type, I'm fine, but stopped. The lie stuck in my throat. Nothing was fine. Nothing would ever be fine again. Instead, I called him. Can you come over? I need help. 20 minutes later, Mark arrived with a bottle of whiskey and a determined expression. I led him to the kitchen table where I'd set up my laptop. What's going on, Press? He asked, pouring us each a generous drink. I inserted Rachel's thumb drive. I'm about to find out how much trouble Doug is really in. The files opened like Pandora's box, spilling secrets across my screen. Bank transfers, emails with veiled threats, photos of Doug meeting with men I didn't recognize in parking garages and empty restaurants. Jesus, Mark whispered, scrolling through the evidence. This is serious, Presley. These aren't the kind of people you mess with. Apparently, they're exactly the kind of people Doug messes with. I took a long swallow of whiskey, welcoming the burn. And now he's disappeared. Mark's face hardened. You need to go to the police. With what? Evidence my husband's a criminal? That my best friend helped him hide it? That makes me look complicit. It makes you look like a victim. I slammed my glass down. I'm done being a victim. The doorbell rang, startling us both. Mark motioned for me to stay seated while he checked the peephole. "It's Layla," he called. I opened the door to find my colleague standing on my porch, her expression grave. "Sorry to show up unannounced," she said, "but I found something you need to see." She handed me a manila envelope. Inside was a photograph, Doug and another man in what looked like an intense conversation. "That was taken yesterday," Layla said. "At the airport." I stared at the image, my heart pounding. "How did you get this?" "My brother works security there." She hesitated. "Presley, the man with Doug. He's connected to some very dangerous people." The photograph trembled in my hand. "He's running." "Yes," Layla confirmed. "And based on what my brother overheard, he's not planning to come back." I looked from the photo to the computer screen still displaying evidence of Doug's crimes, and something inside me hardened into resolve. "Let him run," I said, my voice steady. "But he's not taking my life with him." The flames in my fireplace danced hypnotically, consuming old photographs. Doug and me on our honeymoon, at Christmas parties, on hiking trips. With each picture that blackened and curled, I felt a strange mixture of grief and liberation. "Are you sure about this?" Mark asked, watching from the doorway. "Some of those can't be replaced." "That's the point." I fed another memory to the fire, our wedding portrait. I don't want reminders of a life that was built on lies. It had been 3 days since Doug disappeared. 3 days of discovering just how thoroughly he'd betrayed me. Not just with Rachel, but with every decision he'd made over the past year. Our savings drained, our home equity leveraged, our future gambled away. Mark sat beside me, taking the stack of remaining photos. "Keep these," he said gently. "Not for Doug, for you. For the person you were, who loved honestly." I let him set them aside, too exhausted to argue. I hadn't slept more than a few hours since discovering the affair, and the weight of each new revelation pressed down on me like stones. "Have you decided what you're going to do?" Mark asked. "About Doug? Or the fact that he's left me holding the bag for his crimes?" "Both, I guess." I stared into the flames. "I filed a police report this morning. Reported him missing." I laughed bitterly. "Officer asked if he had any reason to leave. Where would I even start?" "Did you tell them about the money laundering?" I shook my head. "Not yet. I need to understand exactly what I'm dealing with first." The doorbell rang, interrupting our conversation. Mark went to answer it while I continued my ritual of destruction, feeding credit card statements and bank notices to the fire. "It's Guillermo," Mark called from the hallway. I quickly wiped my eyes, not wanting my colleague to see me falling apart. In the living room, Guillermo entered cautiously as if stepping into a minefield. "I hope I'm not intruding," he said, his accent more pronounced than usual. "I was worried when you didn't come to work today." "Just taking some personal time." I gestured to the chair across from me. "How did you know where I live?" "Company directory." He sat down, his dark eyes taking in the scene, the fire, the photos, my obvious distress. "Presley, what's happening? Is there anything I can do?" Something about his genuine concern cracked my carefully constructed facade. The story spilled out. Doug's betrayal, his criminal activities, his disappearance. "So now I'm left with nothing but debt and potential criminal charges," I finished, my voice hollow. Guillermo leaned forward. "You need a lawyer, a good one." "I can't afford one. Doug made sure of that." "I know someone." He pulled out his phone. "My ex-wife tried to frame me for tax fraud during our divorce. This attorney saved me." As he made the call, arranging a meeting for the following morning, I studied him with new eyes. Guillermo had always been kind, professional, but this level of personal involvement surprised me. "Why are you helping me?" I asked after he hung up. His expression softened. "Because I know what it's like to have your life destroyed by someone you trusted, and because—" He hesitated. "Because you deserve better than this." The simple kindness of his words hit me harder than any of the betrayals had. I turned away, not wanting him to see the tears threatening to fall. Thank you, I managed. After Guillermo left, promising to pick me up for the lawyer meeting, Mark gave me a knowing look. What? I demanded. Nothing, he smiled slightly. Just nice to see you have people in your corner. He's a colleague, that's all. If you say so. Mark checked his watch. I should go. Early meeting tomorrow. You don't have to babysit me, I'm not going to do anything stupid. Aren't you? He gestured to the fire. This revenge plan you're cooking up. Where does it end, Press? It ends with Doug facing consequences for once in his life. Mark sighed. Just be careful. Revenge has a way of burning the person who seeks it. After he left, I sat alone by the dying fire, turning his words over in my mind. Was this about justice, or was I just lashing out in pain? The line between the two had blurred beyond recognition. My phone buzzed with a text from Rachel. Need to talk. Cooper found something. It's urgent. I hesitated, then replied, I'm done talking. Her response came immediately. This isn't about me or Doug, it's about you. These people think you have their money. A chill ran through me that had nothing to do with the cooling embers. What people? The ones Doug owes. They came to the office looking for him, asked about you. I stared at her message, fear crystallizing into something harder, colder. What did you tell them? That I didn't know where either of you were. Presley, they weren't asking nicely. I set the phone down, my hands shaking. This wasn't just about exposing Doug anymore. It wasn't even about revenge. It was about survival. The doorbell rang again, startling me. It was nearly midnight, too late for casual visitors. I approached cautiously, peering through the peephole. Layla stood on my porch, her expression urgent. Sorry for the late hour, she said when I opened the door, but you need to see this now. She thrust her phone at me. On the screen was a news article. Local businessman found unconscious after apparent assault. The businessman was Cooper. He's in the ICU, Layla said. Police are saying it was a robbery, but my brother's friend works hospital security. Cooper was beaten methodically, professionally. This wasn't random. I pulled her inside, locking the door behind her. Did he say anything? Before they hurt him? That's why I'm here. Layla's voice dropped. He regained consciousness briefly, asked for you, said something about a safe deposit box. What safe deposit box? I don't know. But whatever Doug was involved in, it's escalating. She gripped my arm. These people aren't playing games, Presley, and they think you know something. I sank onto the stairs, the reality of my situation crashing down on me. Doug hadn't just betrayed me emotionally, he'd left me in physical danger. I need to find that safe deposit box, I said, my voice steadier than I felt. Before they do. Layla nodded. I'll help you, but we need to move fast. As I gathered my purse and keys, a new message appeared on my phone, from an unknown number. We know Doug ran. We know you have access to what's ours. You have 24 hours. No signature, no explanation needed. The clock was ticking. Morning light streamed through the bank's windows, catching dust motes in golden beams that seemed mockingly cheerful. I gripped the counter, forcing my voice to remain steady. I need to access my husband's safe deposit box. The bank manager, his nameplate read Timothy, smiled apologetically. I understand, Mrs. Bryant, but without your name on the account or your husband present, my husband is missing. I slid the police report across the counter. And I have reason to believe this box contains evidence relevant to his disappearance. Timothy examined the report, his smile fading. This is highly irregular. So is having dangerous criminals threaten you because your husband stole their money. I leaned closer. Please, I wouldn't ask if it wasn't important. He hesitated, then nodded. Wait here. While he disappeared into a back office, I glanced at Layla, who stood by the door keeping watch. She gave me a subtle thumbs up. 20 minutes and several phone calls later, I followed Timothy into the vault. Rows of metal boxes lined the walls, each containing someone's secrets. He stopped at box 1742. I'll need to witness you opening it, he said, inserting his key. Bank policy. I nodded, turning my own key. found in Doug's desk drawer after hours of searching. The lock clicked, and Timothy pulled out a long metal container. "I'll give you privacy to examine the contents," he said, setting it on a small table. "But I'll be right outside." Once alone, I took a deep breath and lifted the lid. Inside lay a USB drive, a small notebook, and a manila envelope. I opened the envelope first, finding a stack of photographs, Doug with various men in suits, exchanging envelopes, shaking hands. Evidence of his criminal activities or insurance against his partners? The notebook contained dates, amounts, and initials, a record of transactions, perhaps. I pocketed everything, my heart racing. Whatever Doug had been involved in, he'd been careful to document it. Outside, Layla waited anxiously. "Did you find anything?" "Maybe everything," I whispered, patting my purse. "Let's go." We were halfway to the car when my phone rang. Rachel. "Not now," I muttered, declining the call. It immediately rang again. This time I answered. "What?" "They know you're at the bank." Rachel's voice was tight with fear. "They're watching you." My steps faltered. "How do you know that?" "Because they came to my office again. Said if you don't bring them what's in that box, they'll—" Her voice broke. "Presley, these aren't idle threats." I scanned the parking lot, suddenly aware of how exposed we were. "Where are you now?" "Home. They said to tell you to bring everything to my place by noon." I checked my watch. 10:47. "Who exactly is they?" "I don't know their names, but the one in charge, he has a scar across his left cheek. Doug called him Marcus." "And you trust these people to just let us walk away once I hand everything over?" Rachel's laugh was hollow. "I don't trust anyone anymore, but I don't see another option." After hanging up, I turned to Layla. "Change of plans. We need to go to my office first." "Your office? Why?" "Because if I'm walking into a trap, I'm making copies of everything first." 30 minutes later, I stood in the empty copy room, duplicating every page of Doug's notebook while Layla kept watch. Guillermo appeared in the doorway, his expression concerned. "Presley, I thought you were taking time off." I hesitated, then made a split-second decision. "I need your help." Quickly, I explained the situation, the safe deposit box, Rachel's call, the noon deadline. "This is insane," Guillermo said when I finished. "You need to go to the police." "With what? Evidence my husband is a criminal? That makes me look complicit." I shook my head. "I need to know exactly what I'm dealing with first. Then I'm coming with you to Rachel's." "Absolutely not. These people are dangerous." "Exactly why you shouldn't go alone." His jaw set stubbornly. "I'm not asking permission." I wanted to argue but didn't have time. "Fine, but you stay in the car 2 blocks away. If I'm not out in 20 minutes, call this number." I scribbled Mark's number on a post-it. "Tell him everything." At 11:55, I parked outside Rachel's townhouse. The street was quiet, too quiet for a weekday. No dog walkers, no delivery trucks, no signs of the normal suburban bustle. "I don't like this," Guillermo said from the passenger seat. "It feels wrong. None of this has felt right since I found my husband with my best friend." I checked my watch. 20 minutes, not a second longer. "Be careful," he said as I got out. "Whatever's in that box isn't worth your life." I nodded, unable to speak past the knot of fear in my throat. Rachel opened her door before I could knock, her face pale and drawn. "You came?" "Not like I had a choice." I stepped inside, clutching my purse with its precious cargo. "Where are they?" "Living room." I followed her through the familiar hallway. How many times had I walked this path as a friend, never imagining I'd return as a pawn in some criminal game. 2 men sat on Rachel's cream-colored sofa. One was tall and thin, with nervous hands that couldn't seem to stay still. The other was older, heavier, with a jagged scar cutting through his left eyebrow and down his cheek. "Marcus." "Mrs. Bryant," he said, rising. "Thank you for joining us. Let's skip the pleasantries." I remained standing, keeping distance between us. "I have what Doug took. I want guarantees that my friends and I will be left alone." Marcus smiled, the expression never reaching his eyes. Of course, we're businessmen, not monsters. Businessmen don't put people in the ICU. Unfortunate what happened to Cooper. He shrugged. But necessary. He was uncooperative. My skin crawled at his casual dismissal of violence. I have everything from the safe deposit box. Once I confirm you'll leave us alone, it's yours. Show me. Slowly, I removed the USB drive and notebook from my purse. This is what you're looking for, right? Doug's insurance policy? Marcus's eyes narrowed. Insurance policy? The evidence he collected, names, dates, transactions. I held up the notebook. Everything he needed to bring you down if you ever turned on him. A flash of uncertainty crossed his face, the first genuine emotion I'd seen. Give me that. Not until I have your word, written and signed. The thin man laughed. You're in no position to make demands. Actually, I am. I pulled out my phone, showing them the screen. Because I'm recording this entire conversation, and if anything happens to me or anyone I care about, copies of everything go to the FBI. Marcus's face hardened. You're bluffing. Try me. I met his gaze steadily, though my heart hammered against my ribs. I have nothing left to lose. The silence stretched, taut as a wire. Then Marcus nodded to his companion, who produced a pen and paper. Write it, Marcus ordered. We agree to cease all contact with Presley Bryant and Associates in exchange for all materials related to Douglas Bryant's activities. As the thin man wrote, Rachel moved to stand beside me. I'm sorry, she whispered, for everything. I didn't look at her. Couldn't. This doesn't make us even. I know. The thin man slid the paper across the coffee table. I read it carefully, then nodded. The envelope, too, Marcus said, with the photos. I hesitated, then removed it from my purse. Everything's here. Our business is concluded. Marcus took the items, examining them briefly, before nodding to his companion. We're done here. As they moved toward the door, relief washed over me. We'd made it through. We were safe. Then Marcus paused, turning back with a cold smile. One more thing, Mrs. Bryant. Your husband— ex-husband, I corrected. Ex-husband, he amended. When you find him, and you will, tell him Marcus says hello. The door closed behind them, leaving Rachel and me in a silence heavy with unspoken words. It's over, she said finally. I shook my head, a strange calm settling over me. No. Now it's time for the real reckoning. The conference room hummed with tension as I arranged 8 chairs around the long table. Each place setting had a manila folder, a glass of water, and a name card, all identical except for what was written inside the folders. Are you sure about this? Guillermo asked, adjusting the projector screen at the front of the room. I've never been more sure of anything. I smoothed my black dress, not mourning attire, but armor for battle. They might not all come. They'll come. I checked my watch. Curiosity, if nothing else. The first to arrive was Mark, 15 minutes early as always. He hugged me tightly. You don't have to do this, you know. I do, actually. I gestured to his seat. For me. Layla arrived next, then Mia, both offering tentative smiles. Cooper came limping in, still bruised from his hospital stay, but determined to be present. Rachel slipped in quietly, taking the seat farthest from mine, her eyes downcast. At exactly 7 hours, the door opened one final time. Doug stood in the doorway, thinner than when I'd last seen him, dark circles under his eyes. He scanned the room, his gaze finally settling on me. You found me, he said simply. Wasn't hard. You're predictable. I gestured to the empty chair. Your mother's cabin in Vermont? Really? He sat down cautiously. How did you know about Marcus? I know everything now. I moved to the front of the room. That's why we're here. Once everyone was seated, I took a deep breath, steadying myself for what came next. Thank you all for coming. Some of you know parts of what I'm about to share. None of you know all of it. I clicked the remote, and an image appeared on the screen, Doug and Rachel in his office. This is where it started for me, 10 days ago, my anniversary. Doug flinched. Rachel stared at her hands. But it actually started much earlier. I clicked to the next slide, bank statements, transaction records. About a year ago, when Doug began embezzling from his own company to cover gambling debts. Cooper sat up straighter, his bruised face hardening. When that wasn't enough, he borrowed from people who don't offer payment plans. Another click, the photos of Doug with Marcus. And when that went south, he started laundering money through client accounts. I moved through the evidence methodically, laying bare every deception, every betrayal. Doug's financial crimes, Rachel's complicity, the danger they'd put all of us in. Inside your folders, I continued, you'll find information specific to how these actions affected each of you. Cooper, the evidence clearing you of any involvement. Mark, documentation of the loan Doug took out in your name. One by one, they opened their folders. Expressions of shock, anger, and betrayal rippled around the table. "Why are you doing this?" Doug asked, his voice hollow. "Because secrets have power only in the dark." I met his gaze steadily. "And I'm done living in the shadow of yours." "So this is revenge," Rachel said quietly. "Public humiliation." "No, this is truth. What you do with it is up to you." I turned to the group. "Cooper has already agreed not to press charges if full restitution is made. I've liquidated our assets to cover what I can." "And Marcus?" Doug asked. "Did you give him the evidence?" "Copies, just like I gave copies to the FBI." I smiled thinly. Insurance works both ways. A heavy silence fell over the room. Then Mia spoke up. "What do you want from us, Presley?" "Nothing. This isn't about what I want from you. It's about what I'm giving you, the truth, and the freedom to choose what to do with it." I clicked to the final slide, a blank screen. My part in this story is over. I've filed for divorce. I've given statements to the authorities. I've made what amends I can for the damage Doug's actions caused. "And us?" Rachel asked, her voice barely audible. "Is there any way back from this?" I considered her question, feeling the weight of our history. College roommates, bridesmaids at each other's weddings, countless secrets shared over wine and tears. "I don't know," I answered honestly. "Trust isn't just broken or fixed. Sometimes it's transformed into something else entirely." As the meeting disbanded, people moved in small groups, talking quietly, processing. Doug approached me last, his expression unreadable. "You could have just turned me in," he said. "Why go through all this?" "Because it wasn't just about you. It was about me, who I became when everything fell apart." I gathered my notes, not meeting his eyes. "And who I chose to be after." "And who is that?" I looked up then, seeing him clearly for perhaps the first time. Not the man I'd loved, nor the villain who'd betrayed me, but simply a flawed human who'd made terrible choices. Someone who doesn't need revenge to heal. I closed my laptop. Someone who understands that the opposite of love isn't hate, it's indifference. He nodded slowly, accepting the finality in my voice. "For what it's worth, I am sorry." "I know, but sorry doesn't change what happened. It just acknowledges it." After everyone left, Guillermo helped me clear the room. We worked in comfortable silence until he spoke. "Are you really okay?" I paused, considering the question. "Not yet, but I will be." Outside, the evening air was cool against my skin. Guillermo walked me to my car, his presence steady and undemanding. "What now?" he asked. I looked up at the emerging stars, bright points of light in the gathering darkness. Now I stop defining myself by what was done to me and start defining myself by what I choose to do next. "And what's that?" I smiled. A real smile, the first in what felt like forever. "I don't know yet, but for the first time in 10 days, in 10 years maybe, that uncertainty feels like freedom." As we stood there in the quiet parking lot, I realized something profound. The story I'd been living wasn't about betrayal after all. It was about reclamation, not of what I'd lost, but of who I'd always been beneath the roles of wife, friend, victim. Just Presley, broken, healing, and finally, irrevocably, my own.